Scotch with your first alert forecast. We're going to be tracking afternoon highs towards the lower 80s, mostly sunny skies, a warm day into Friday, some scattered showers throughout the day, off and on, a high of 71 degrees. Then a few storms scattered throughout the upcoming weekend. Still a decent amount of dry time temperatures, mid-70s Saturday, back towards the lower 80s into Sunday afternoon, and even warmer to start off early portions of next week. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist James Scott.
Let's get moving, St. Louis. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Is your kid's public school sponsoring some LGBT activism this week? Well, it turns out there are schools across the country that are doing just that, and parents may not be told about it. We're going to bring you the update on that at 7:35. Hey, good morning. Happy Thursday. You know, we've got a lot of stuff going on that News Talk STL is involved with right here. In just a moment, you're going to hear from Grant Black from the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise, because we are part of a debate that's coming up in St. Charles County. But also, we've got the upcoming Road to Zero income tax town hall event, and that's going to happen on April 30th. So we just got a couple weeks until we get to that. Be sure to go to News Talk STL's website or Americans for Prosperity's website, and be sure to RSVP and get your free seat at that event. All right, well, I think the most important race in the metro area this year in 2026 is that race for St. Charles County Executive. 3 Republican candidates with 3 very different resumes, and they're going to face off at an event that we are co-sponsor of. Grant Black, like I said, from the Hammond Institute, was with us on Wednesday, and he gave us the details. We are part of an event to let you compare the candidates in what is arguably the biggest election in the area. And to help me make that announcement is Grant Black from our friends at the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University. And so I would argue, Grant, that the biggest, most closely watched in the St. Louis region for the August and then later on in November, but the August election is going to be that race for St. Charles County Executive.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be one of the biggest ones.
And so we've got an event coming up in partnership. Let everybody know what it is.
Well, we've got a great event coming up. It's going to be the St. Charles County Executive Debate. Yep. So we're going to have all 3 candidates that are running be able to debate together. Mm-hmm. And this will be a great event. This is on Tuesday, June 2nd. I think doors open at 6, but the event will kind of kick off at 6:30 and run till about 8:30. It'll be at the Scheidegger Center for the Arts at Lindenwood, so it'll be really accessible. Yep. Hold a lot of people, so we're really hoping a lot of people will come out for this.
And the Scheidegger Center is where we had the Steve Forbes event.
Yeah, that's right.
As well, it is a gorgeous theater, easy to get in and out of, plenty of parking right there on campus.
Yeah, very accessible. This is a really great venue for something like this, really right in the heart of St. Charles.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is, and I know the Hammond Institute, I'm not going to get you all into the political partisan stuff on this, but the primary in this case is really what matters in this race. So whoever wins this race is going to be the next county executive, and that's just the fact of the matter here. So we've got confirmations. Jason Law is going to be there. Mike, Steve Edelman's going to be there.
And
Bill Eigel are all going to be there. They're all going to be debating. And so once we get them on stage, this really is going to be a matter of what's in the future for St. Charles County. But St. Charles County is increasingly becoming the leader of the region when it comes to the economy, when it comes to things like education, when it comes to things like public safety. What are some of the things that we want to make sure that these candidates give us clear answers as far as what they would do in leadership?
Yeah, I think, St. Charles County is the 3rd largest county in Missouri. Yeah. It's been one of the fastest growing for many, many years. And so it's a quite influential county, certainly a leader in the region here. I think you're going to see a lot of these issues related to tax cuts at the local level and probably at the state level being discussed. Mm-hmm. I think a lot about quality of life. So continued, emphasis on, safety, amenities, those kinds of things. And I think a big one's going to be the sort of future directions of development.
Right.
And I think this is where a lot of the debate kind of is, what people are sort of thinking, what kind of development do we want? Are we just rushing to develop everything? What should this look like? So sort of the pace of things, the kinds of businesses and things to bring in. So I think that's where a lot of this discussion will be.
Yeah, and from an economy perspective, Grant, I mean, like you said, St. Charles County is growing. There are more people who want to go there than there are places for them to go right now. And all three of the candidates seem to be agreed in a couple of areas. They don't want a bunch more of apartment complexes, for instance. That's part of the development that they all seem to be agreed on.
Yes. Yeah.
And so you've got an interesting situation of St. Charles County is going to grow economically. It is going to grow developmentally. It's a question of what's the best way to do it. And obviously you all study economics and you just study all this stuff at the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise. So there are right ways to do it and there are wrong ways to do it.
Yeah, I think it's really thinking about, really long-term sustainability. Mm-hmm. What kind of growth makes the most sense? Things that can try to generate and can continue high incomes, good tax bases, things like that in terms of development, mix of diversity of industries and things like that, things that show, promise for growth in the future. So I think those are the kinds of really thinking about. I mean, they're certainly also facing this sort of continued migration west.
Oh, yeah.
So you certainly see more and more, right, of this movement out 70, easy, and so I think how do they, in part, deal with that in terms of a bit of out-migration, even out of St. Charles County, moving that direction. And so, how do they sort of keep, what's the hook to keep people in the county, help it grow well, and really meet the needs of the people?
Yeah, and that's the thing is, it's all of this stuff sounds super wonky. Now, all three of these candidates are pretty good about putting them in like layman's terms and things like that. So, they're complicated and important measures because everything is changing so rapidly at this point. But what are the principles just from that free market perspective? Because that's what you all specialize in, the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise. From a free enterprise and a free market perspective, what is it that you hope to see from the candidate as far as outlining their perspectives, whether you agree with them or not? What are the things you want them to address?
Well, I think the things that help, foster solid economic growth, whether that's at a local level, whether that's at a national level, fairly limited government, not too much over-regulation and, sort of over-intervention, allowing people to pursue their interest and, dreams and goals and foster that healthy development. Fairly low, moderate taxes, so not overburdening to help foster a lot of that growth, help, sustain a high of personal incomes and things like that, profitability for businesses. Those kinds of principles, I think, are the things that really matter a lot.
Yeah, and those are the things that take us from that detailed spreadsheet policy complexity sort of thing to this is about the quality of life. This is about, I want to buy a house here. Maybe I want to start a family there. I've got the dream of starting this business here. And you do that based on all of those complexities, but then it's all about living out those dreams. And I think somewhere in between there, events like this are what connects people to the end result, people to the dream versus just trying to understand the complexities and the numbers.
Yeah, I think, this quality of life issue is a big one. Sometimes when you have so fast of growth, it's sort of hard to keep up with providing the kinds of infrastructure and services that are needed that people really desire to sort of make life well. And so I think St. Charles is really thinking about that. How do we maintain and better develop our infrastructure, those amenities that really help attract people and keep people there to make life well in St. Charles County?
Okay, so for those maybe just coming on board, we're visiting with Grant Black from the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University. You're a nonpartisan organization. You're about free enterprise and teaching people and all of that sort of thing. But the details of the upcoming debate of the St. Charles County Executives race, let's give that one more time. And that's up on the website already, I think, right?
Yes, it should be. It's up on your website, and we should have it up on ours. It's the St. Charles County Executive Debate. It will be on Tuesday, June 2nd. It's starting at 6:30. It will run to about 8:30. It's at the Scheidegger Center for the Arts at Lindenwood University. This is completely free. No tickets or registration required, so you can just walk right in. So this is very, very easy. I think importantly, this is designed, as us as an educational institution, this is designed to be a nonpartisan setting. We're here to really help just inform the public, allow them to hear these candidates, discuss these local issues and their priorities for the future. This will be a moderated debate, so I think that's important. This isn't just for the candidates, sort of a free-for-all saying whatever they'd like. And so they'll have a few minutes to kind of share a little bit, and then we'll have a panel that will lead some discussions that I think will get at a lot of the issues that the local community is really interested in.
And they're going to get some challenging questions.
I think so for sure.
Yeah, because whoever's leading St. Charles is leading a significant part of the state's economy.
Yes.
Here as well. All right. And Green, you just mentioned something unrelated to this because you all do so much of that personal financial education as well. You're hoping to hang out with people at the zoo.
That's right.
You're like, what does that have to do with Lindenwood University and the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise? But this is kind of cool, especially if you've got like kids you want to teach the basics of personal finance and things.
Yeah, so this is National Financial Literacy Month, so all kinds of people all around the country involved in a lot of financial education initiatives.
You didn't get me a card, Grant. Of course, I didn't get you a card for that either.
So we are being a part of an initiative called Money Smart Month in St. Louis that is hosting an event at the St. Louis Zoo. That'll be on Saturday, April 18th. I believe it starts at 9 and it'll run till about noon. Totally free. It'll be in the Living World exhibit. And so anybody can come on through. There's going to be tons of organizations there, including us, just helping provide information and some engagement with families and young kids, really getting them to really think about the importance of really personal finance principles and how to start young. I think one of the best things is how do you start instilling this at a young age to really develop these habits and patterns that set you up for success throughout your life.
So a lot of resources there for the families.
There'll be fantastic resources for families, so definitely come out and check it out.
And the giraffes will be there.
That's right.
As well. All right. Let's give out the website and the social media stuff so people can connect with that. They're going to, obviously, you can look at NewsTalkSTL.com for the debate itself. But for that and the other events, how do they get in touch with you at the Hammond Institute?
So you can find us at hammondinstitute.org.
Okay, once again, details are at newstalkstl.com and hammondinstitute.org. And also put these things on your calendar. April 30th, the Road to Zero Income Tax Town Hall. I'm going to be moderating that event with Senator Nick Schroer, with Representative Ben Keithley, representatives from Mo Tax Relief Now and from Americans for Prosperity. We're all going to be there. Whether you agree or disagree with eliminating the state income tax, this is a town hall to have that discussion. Come on out, register, it's free, get your RSVP, and join us with your questions. This is going to happen at the Lodge de Pere, again, on April 30th. And then, of course, May 20th, Riley Gaines is going to be in St. Charles for the Make Missouri Pro-Life Again banquet with Missouri Right to Life. Go check out MissouriLife.org to get your tickets for that. This one is going to sell out. And then, like we just said, June 2nd, that Tuesday, we've got the St. Charles County Executive Primary in partnership with the St. Charles County Central Committee, with the Republicans and with the Hammond Institute. All the information is at newstalkstl.com.
You talk about race relations.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity. And I'm sick and tired of it.
1019 and 94.1.
I find it to be a conversation starter.
News Talk STL.
Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com is your one-stop shop for expert insured tree care and more in the greater St. Louis region and at the Lake of the Ozarks. Visit hansonstree.com for 24/7 emergency tree care, grinding and land clearing, awesome organic mulch, green resource recycling, and more. Tim Jones here to tell you that whether you're dealing with old man winter at your home or business in the St. Louis region or preparing your lake home for spring, call Hanson's to help you out. No job too big or too small. Mention News Talk STL. Receive 10% off all tree care services. hansonstree.com, hansonstree.com.
Hey there, your financial friend here, Chris Cooper, Serenity Wealth, and I've got a very special show coming up this weekend. We're going to turn the page on tax planning away from 25 and into 2026, and we're going to kick that off with a special topic about taxation right here in the state of Missouri. Joining us in the studio, we've got Elias with the Show Me Institute. We're going to talk about Missouri becoming on the path to being a tax-free state. So tune in right here, News Talk STL, Sunday morning, 9 a.m.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC. Hi, I'm Rodney Wallner.
And I'm Jen Wallner with the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway.
Hey, Jen, how do you sell your home for top dollar?
That's easy. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What if I want a flexible commission plan?
Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What's the best time to sell your home?
Right now, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
For all your real estate needs, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
That's 314-810-SOLD.
Craving a real slice of Chicago right here in Wentzville? Alfano's Pizza is the only spot in town serving legendary Chicago-style stuffed deep dish, thick crust, gooey mozzarella, and signature sauce made fresh every morning. Prefer New York hand-tossed or St. Louis cracker crust? They've got that too. Plus, legendary sandwiches, spicy Italian beef, Cuban, and Philly cheesesteak. Curbside pickup or fast delivery. Alfano's Pizza, real fresh, right in your neighborhood. Order at alfanospizza.wentzvillemo.com.
Lower your car payment today. Lower your car payment today. Yes, you heard us right. You can lower your car payment right now by making this free call and save up to $1,400 a year on your current car payments. Think about your current car payment right now. What's that costing you per year? Now think about what it would be like to put an extra $1,400 back in your pocket. That's the average savings our customers experience. We can help you drive the same car and pay less every month by lowering your car payment's interest rate to as low as 4.67%. At Rate Genius, we can work with you to refinance any car payment. If you qualify, it costs you nothing to find out how you can lower your car payment. To learn more, call this number right now.
800-493-5670. 800-493-5670. 800-493-5670. That's 800-493-5670.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Nobody wants to party in the city anymore.
No?
No. The biggest Cinco de Mayo festival in the city canceled.
Oh.
Yeah, the biggest one. Just called off. Ain't going to happen.
What, due to ice or
Well,
just due to...
that came up in the conversation, but they're not, the organizers are not saying that's like the primary reason, although they say, yeah, there were some people that worried about that, which is silly. But it's the Cherokee Street Festival, Cinco de Mayo, which is biggest in the city. Just done. I mean, I've got more details in the news dump here, but, the Taste of St. Louis, massive festival, that's been moved out to Clayton, which makes a lot of sense if you're the festival organizers. Annie Malone, that was canceled last year. The parade's canceled again this year. They're going to do kind of a street party. And then, of course, there's been some other festivals and things they're just not doing anymore in the city. And this one was a big one. Channel 4 did a story on it. And, of course, they talked to a couple of business owners. The business owners were like, this was like huge for our business.
Oh, I imagine.
Yeah. And so they're saying basically, everybody, please come to Cherokee Street that weekend anyway, which, if there's no festival, they're not going to attract anybody but the normal sort of crowd there. And, Cherokee Street is obviously, it's unique. It's colorful. There's very quirky. It's kind of a cool neighborhood if you can, tolerate all the super left-wingy stuff that's all up and down, Cherokee Street, which is what it is. I mean, it is what it is kind of thing. But this was a big party that they would have there. And I mean, there's other Cinco de Mayo stuff that's happening around the metro area, but that was the biggest one. And now it's just completely called off.
And it feels like a lot of this could have been prevented if the city at any point up until, of course, this administration, which is actually trying to do something, but if they had taken crime complaints more seriously, if they had done more to make people feel safe, to not let, and especially with the parents, letting their kids run around and do city takeovers and everything.
Yeah, because there was a shooting at the Cinco de Mayo a couple years ago. And so there's obviously been some ongoing crime and shooting in the Cherokee Street areas every now and then, and no more than other areas, but that's not a great bar to be clearing. It's like, well, it's not as bad as this part of downtown or whatever. But yeah, so those are all factors. Now they cited, and as we'll point out in the news dump, that cost. is one of the most common things that are being cited. It's just things are more expensive now.
Yeah.
And the festival is run by like a community improvement district. So it's one of those like CID things where you've got a board and then they tax, extra taxes that go pay, which those are generally not good deals, but they've got a board and they're saying, we just don't have the money. It's just too expensive to do this. And the businesses are like, what the heck?
Well, that's the unfortunate thing too. So not only are these businesses losing out on the revenue, because this should be a day for certain types of businesses to have it guaranteed, hey, everybody, we can get you some more hours, we can pay you a little bit more. So not only is that going to be affected, but now the businesses are not going to be generating the tax revenue that the city probably needs for some of the programs and other things that they have going on.
Yeah, and I wonder how much of it is the money is. I'm sure that's a real thing. I have no doubt that's a real thing, but you can't ignore the aspect of the crime and the liability and the they did mention the story, like there were some people that said ICE, but they said that wasn't a big factor on it, which is just silly that was even in there. But that's where it's at. So more details in the news dump coming up here. Real quick, our friend Camelia Peterson, she posted something on Facebook yesterday I thought was interesting. She was one of the witnesses who was testifying in the state Senate committee regarding autonomous vehicles in allowing them in St. Louis, basically. So there's a state Senate bill that would allow Waymo and some of these others to do some limited sort of, not really ride share, but kind of, taxi-ish kind of services. So basically kind of a pilot program for the rest of the state. And she just listed the witnesses for and against the testimony. And, for, was what you would, interesting. The Chamber of Commerce was for it. David Stokes over the Show Me Institute, Camellia with Americans for Prosperity. There's an industry group. A representative of MAD was there as well. Okay, that's interesting. The witnesses against it, there's one group, I don't know what they are, but basically every other group, the vast majority of those testifying against allowing autonomous vehicles, labor unions.
Oh.
Unions are against autonomous vehicles because there apparently are some like truck driving union organizations, and they're afraid that if you're not forcing somebody to join a union to drive, that they'll lose jobs. Unions are against it. Mike Ferguson here. Retirement should be a time you can relax. No more stress from work. But there's one thing you can't forget about when retiring. That's your money. Do you have enough saved to fund your income for life and keep up with inflation? How will you claim your Social Security benefits? And what about long-term care? The ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel is here to help answer all of these questions. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9, right here on News Talk STL. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
1949, the last time a Republican held the top post in St. Louis City. A gallon of milk was 84 cents and streetcars ran down Grand Avenue. Unfortunately, St. Louis city streets are no longer the epicenter of family and business life. In the 80 years of Democrat control, our city has been on a steady decline.
Hello, Kirk Ilsinger, chairman of the Republican Party for the city of St. Louis, and we believe it is our duty to provide a different path forward. I invite you to our meetings the first Thursday of every month. Learn more at stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC, Curtis Farber, Treasurer. When the storm hits and a tree comes down, you need someone you can trust right now. OLI Outdoor Services in Godfrey is on call 24/7 for emergency tree removal, trimming, stump grinding, and land clearing. Serving Illinois and Missouri with licensed, insured professionals and over 200 years of combined experience. Tree removal starting at just $2.99. Free estimates, plus financing. Visit OLIOutdoorServices.com or call 1-888-5-SAWING.
There's something magical about walking into your backyard and knowing your family is completely safe and secure. Hi, I'm Sean Long, owner of STL Fence Works. That's the feeling my team and I have been creating for metro area families for more than 50 years. Whether you're adding your first fence or finally creating the outdoor sanctuary you've always wanted, We offer premium vinyl and stunning ornamental options, all designed around your family's specific needs and lifestyle. While other companies struggle with supply delays and rising costs, we've always proudly used all American-made materials, which means better pricing and faster installation for you. Our experienced craftsmen exemplify our motto, your satisfaction is our passion. From Warrenton to Wildwood, your neighbors trust us because we live here too, and we care about your project as much as you do. Right now is the golden time to build with flexible financing options and a commitment to completing your fence on time and on budget. Visit stlfenceworks.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Paul, I'm Rich Thomason. There is disagreement over the parameters of the U.S.-Iran ceasefire, which so far at least has been holding. Correspondent Charles De La Desma says the dispute has to do with Israel's deadly attacks on Hezbollah targets in Lebanon.
In unusually strong language, UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has condemned Israeli strikes in Lebanon, killed and injured hundreds on Wednesday. Israel says the ceasefire agreement does not extend to its war in Lebanon with the Iran-backed Hezbollah militant group, although Iran and mediator Pakistan say it does.
Vice President Vance, who will lead the American delegation in peace talks this coming weekend, insists that Lebanon is not part of the ceasefire deal.
With a 2-week ceasefire underway, the United States will participate in peace negotiations in Pakistan.
The president is dispatching his negotiating team, led by the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance.
Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says Vance will lead the delegation, which includes Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. Greg Clugston, the White House.
The Lebanon issue prompting Iran to once again close the Strait of Hormuz. That brings a stern warning from President Trump about a possible resumption of U.S. attacks on Iran. Police in the Bahamas say they've arrested the husband of a Michigan woman who vanished from a boat last weekend. The Coast Guard says it's opened a criminal investigation. Authorities say Lynette Hooker was traveling in an 8-foot motorboat Saturday night and that her husband Brian Hooker told authorities that she fell overboard and was swept away. Today's the day, Augusta National Golf Club the place. It is day one of the Masters tournament. Scotty Scheffler has 2 Masters titles, and he's the favorite in this week's tournament, as he tends to be for all majors these days. On Wall Street, Dow futures down 164 points. More on these stories, townhall.com.
Health insurance rates are surging in America, leaving millions without affordable options. If you're sick of having paychecks eaten up by healthcare costs or dealing with mega corporations, then listen to this. Christians don't need to waste money on a broken system. That's why I want to tell you about Christian Healthcare Ministries. It's an alternative to traditional health insurance at half the cost. With CHM, fellow believers contribute monthly to help pay each other's medical bills. There's no enrollment period, so you can join anytime. And you aren't restricted to provider networks, so you choose the doctors and hospitals you want. It's that simple. CHM is not insurance. It's a ministry that puts faith into action. Feel the difference of financial support and biblical care from fellow believers. Join CHM today by visiting chministries.org/wellness. That's chministries.org/wellness.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Chance Koch with your first alert forecast. We're going to be tracking afternoon highs towards the lower 80s, mostly sunny skies, a warm day into Friday, some scattered showers throughout the day, off and on, a high of 71 degrees. Then a few storms scattered throughout the upcoming weekend. Still a decent amount of dry time temperatures, mid-70s Saturday, back towards the lower 80s into Sunday afternoon, and even warmer to start off early portions of next week. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Koch.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Business owners, download your free playbook for financial clarity at SerenityWealthBiz.com. That's SerenityWealthBiz.com.
1 in 4 women will have an abortion before the age of 45 in this country. That's the tragedy we must work to stop. Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show here, and that is why Reach Reproductive Health is here, to empower parents to save the lives of innocent children and to see these families come to Christ. And you can be a part of saving and changing lives. So pray and visit outreachforlife.org to learn more, volunteer, and donate.
That's outreachforlife.org.
Missouri's laws are clear. Unregulated gaming devices are illegal. Companies have been telling businesses that gray market machines are legal. That's wrong. Don't be scammed. If you have these devices at your business, you could be subject to criminal and civil penalties. Unplug and remove these devices today.
If you've been approached to host illegal gaming machines, call now 800-523-1434 or visit ago.mo.gov. Sponsored by the Attorney General's Office.
On the next Larry Connors USA.
Reminding you that with Larry Connors USA, you get news, analysis, opinion, and education.
Larry Connors USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson.
Are you being intentionally dense?
Susie Moore.
Have you ever been mistaken for a man?
No. Have you?
Get up! Can't you hear the alarm? Get up, St. Louis.
We're a different kind of clown show.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up! This is your cousin.
Okay, so the ceasefire is a little more ceasefire-y now at this point. A little more.
A little more.
Yeah, sort of getting there. Also, the city's biggest Cinco de Mayo party is not going to happen this year. Yeah, called off, canceled. Yep, got the story here.
Oh, that's no fun.
And Cardinals off to a pretty respectable start.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, 6:05 right now. Let's go ahead and get started with the news dump here.
Successful dump. Wake up, America. It all worked out.
They get all the news.
The morning news dump.
Vice President J.D. Vance speaking outside of Air Force Two ahead of his trip back to Washington following a visit to Hungary. So that's the setting here, where he spoke to reporters about the new 2-week ceasefire agreement that's, about as fragile as you can get in Iran.
The United States has certain demands and certain things that we want. The Iranians have things they can get out of the negotiation. The more that they're willing to give us, I think the more they're going to get things out of this negotiation. The president's talked about sanctions relief.
And, of course, we've got the whole Strait of Hormuz. Is it going to be completely open, or is Iran wanting to have the U.S. adhere to its part of it but keep the Strait of Hormuz closed or selectively open? So it's still very, very touchy.
A lot of pieces, parts.
Yes, exactly. All right, so we're going to go into more detail on this a little bit later on. I actually mentioned this, I don't know, a few weeks ago or so, and then now it's back in the news. Selective service in the draft is back in the news.
Yeah.
Yeah, young men could be registered for the draft automatically, whether they want to or not. Whether they want to challenge it or not, under a rule change that's being reviewed right now. So The Hill and Military Times and a bunch of others are among those reporting that the selective service system is requesting the rule change that would automatically register eligible men, which would be almost every man between 18 and 25 in the country, into a pool of potential draftees. Now, right now, you're still required to register for the draft, or you could face potential fines and imprisonment, although that hasn't been prosecuted in forever. The draft has not been used since the Vietnam War in the 1970s. I think 73 was the last time, yeah.
Okay, so I have a lot of questions.
Yeah. Because I mean, later on, I think this is we're going to talk about.
We're going to talk about this more later on. Okay, then I'm not going to get into it.
We can. I mean, what's the basic that jumps out?
Well, the basic one is you were required to. Yeah. That's still, selective service is still a thing. Yes. You still have to require
by law,
to
by
register.
Law. Yeah, by law.
So this isn't changing that.
Correct.
It's changing the method by which that happens.
Yeah, it is. The government says we're just registering you automatically.
Right.
Yeah, that's what it is. You don't go fill out the form. Because when I turned 18, I remember filling out form because they threaten you within an inch of your financial life for men, not for women.
Mm-hmm.
You will do this.
Sexist.
Well, yeah. And also, it's conscription, even though what's the chance?
That's a whole separate issue, but I'm just saying.
Well, to me, that is the big issue on this as well, because I got an issue with something Caroline Leavitt said as well about it, because they were asked about it. Yeah.
Fair enough.
But yeah, they're basically saying it's going to save money, it's going to save time, we're going to make sure we don't miss anybody. But it's basically, we're not taking the draft off the table, which is what the White House said. So we don't take anything off the table. Well, you should take this off the table. And they're, of course, they're framing it as, this is a, part of our leverage and message to let our opponents and enemies know we don't take. Well, no, you should take this off the table because you're also sending messages to the people of your own country, which in theory are more important. So yeah, I've got a lot of thoughts on this one as well.
It's really starting to feel like this administration forgets that they represent we the people, and they should be consulting us on some of the stuff before they use it as leverage in other nations.
Which you could say about basically every presidential administration going
fair.
back to just
Also
everybody.
fair, yes.
Mm-hmm. All right. 8 people were arrested in California on Tuesday in connection with the alleged, because I have to say alleged, hospice fraud network. The Department of Justice statement says that over $50 million was stolen in the course of the operation, and that's just so far. Healthy patients were picked up, and suspects billed Medicare for them, often with doing nothing but driving them around town, apparently. U.S. Attorney for the Central District of California, his name is Bill Asaley, tells Fox Businesses the bottom line that, oh, yeah, they're working on it, and he may be in California, but the federal prosecutors, they're absolutely working with the DOJ.
We think it's going to be in the billions, if not over $100 billion.
And that's just California.
Just a drop in the bucket.
It's just California. That's going to make Minneapolis and Minnesota look like minor leagues.
Happiest in all of this is Tim Walz.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah, because all of a sudden he's not the worst ever. Jeez. I mean, Tim Walz, how do you rank him there? It's like Tim Walz is the worst. Well, there's Gavin Newsom, there's J.B. Pritzker. I'd say Gavin.
They're all bad.
Yeah, Gavin Newsom's probably worse. How do you do that? Who's the worst?
Well, worst at what? Worst in what way?
Yeah, see, that's fair.
There's lots
too.
of options.
I mean, Gavin Newsom, you've got him with all of his Gavin Newsomness, and then his wife is like, no, I completely understand all of you criminals and murderers because I killed somebody too once.
Yep. Yeah, she's got all the empathy.
Right.
She does.
Because
Jen Seibel.
She killed her sister when she was little.
Yeah, so she's got tons of empathy.
So yeah,
What?
So, yeah,
She did.
She ran over her with a golf cart. And then she's at this like forum thing, and she's like, I empathize with all of these criminals because I killed somebody by accident. And I'm sure that you're all here because of accidents
Because
too.
of accidents, too. Yeah.
I'm not making that up. I'm literally not making that up. That's, yeah.
I'm not trying to laugh. I apologize.
Oh, my goodness. No, you're allowed. You're allowed.
Future FLOTUS.
Oh, my goodness. All right. Well, we have this. She would be actually the second first lady who would have killed somebody in her life.
Well, that's true.
Because Barbara Bush
did.
killed somebody in a car
Laura
accident.
Bush.
Laura Bush killed somebody in a car accident when she was a teenager, and which was an accident as well.
Correct.
Yeah. She didn't go around empathizing with murderers and rapists. But yeah.
No, she did not.
Yeah. All right. Another St. Louis festival is canceled. Yeah. This time it is Cherokee Street's Cinco de Mayo celebration, completely called off this year. Not going to happen. KMOV's Kimberly Donahue has the story.
Festival organizers announced the cancellation Wednesday afternoon, less than a month before the event, citing rising costs and the festival's increasing scale.
We saw a noticeable shortfall in the funding that was coming through this year.
John Jern is the director of events for the Cherokee Street Neighborhood Improvement District, which helps put on the festival. He says organizers also thought about the 2 shootings at the festival in 2023 and community concerns about ICE. But neither were the main reasons for canceling.
Okay, the Improvement District for Cherokee Street there, which she just referenced, has run the festival for years, and they tell KMOV that they have not made a decision on whether the Cinco de Mayo festival celebration is going to return next year. The local businesses there were like, this hurts.
Yeah.
Because Cherokee Street has like a loyal, hangout crowd that's there every week, and especially on the weekends, but it's like, if you're a Cherokee Street person, you're a Cherokee Street person. If you're a Central West End person, you're a Central West End person. If you're a Grove person, you're a Grove person. But the Cinco de Mayo was the biggest in the city. That brought in a lot of extra people.
Yeah. Well, that's a bummer.
Yeah. So that's huge there. All right. Let's see here. How about a little bit of sportsy stuff?
Okay.
Jordan Walker does it again.
What is going on with
him?
him?
Did it again. And the Cardinals pick up the series win in Washington. That means they've won 3 of their first 4 series.
That's nice.
Yeah, they're off to a good start. The final yesterday was 6-1. Michael McGreevy got his first win of the season. He's now 1-1. Jordan Walker hit a home run. This is his 3rd in the last 3 games.
That is amazing.
Yeah, and his 5th of the season. In the 5th inning, that was hit in the 5th inning. Alec Burleson kind of overshadowed by the home run, but he drove in 4 runs.
Nice.
No game for the Redbirds today. It's a travel day. They are back at home tomorrow to start a series with the Red Sox. The Ambush, how about a little indoor soccer?
Sure.
The Ambush are moving on to the MASL semifinals.
Okay.
Yeah, they finished their series with the playoff series with Kansas City last night with a 2-0 win in the knockout game. So basically what they did is it's a best of 2 or 3 series, but St. Louis won the first one, Kansas City won the second one last night, and then what they do is a tie break is they do a mini game called a knockout game.
Okay.
And then So we beat Kansas City in the knockout game 2-0. And so game one of the next round of the playoffs, which is the semifinals of the MASL, is going to be against San Diego. It starts off at the Family Arena. Going to be a home game Friday the 17th.
Wow.
And the Blues are back in action at Enterprise. Tonight's game with the Jets starts at 7 o'clock. This one's going to be on FanDuel. The Blues are just one game over 500 right now. They're basically out of the playoffs at this point. They can
It's a shame.
All right.
Try to make me stop, no inspiration.
Susie Moore here to talk to you about Windows. Window World Windows, easy to say, are one of only 2 replacement windows with Good Housekeeping seal of approval, and they are ranked number 1 in the country for number of windows sold by Qualified Remodeler magazine. In just over 20 years, 20 years in business, I'm getting choked up about it, they've improved the look and thermal efficiency of more than 80,000 homes in St. Louis. And the St. Louis location has been owned, operated, and managed by born and raised St. Louis residents for more than 23 years. Window World products are durable, they're secure, they're energy efficient, and they are beautiful. And they use a double-strength glass that's not commonly used in replacement windows. Plus, you get a lifetime warranty that covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor. Window World can also help with siding and doors, and their customer service department is available 7 days a week, which is something a lot of their competitors cannot say. In fact, over half of their appointments come from repeat customers or from referrals, which says a lot about their commitment to customer service. So right now, Window World is offering 36 months, same as cash financing with approved credit. Call for a free in-home estimate. That's 1-800-GET-WINDOWS or visit windowworldstlouis.com.
Tired of settling for generic fishing gear? Say hello to Bullseye Bait and Tackle, O'Fallon's one-stop shop for serious anglers. Live bait, premium tackle, rods, reels, and an unbeatable selection of lures from top brands like Megabass, Zoom, and Berkley. Whether you're after bass, catfish, crappie, or bluegill, they've got the gear to help you land the big one. Plus, their expert team, led by Mark and Liz, provides rod and reel repair services. Bullseye Bait and Tackle, 266 Fort Zumwalt Square, or at bullseyebaitandtackle.net.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-478-6430 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-478-6430. That's 800-478-6430. What do you have to lose? Call 800-478-6430. Again, 800-478-6430.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, Chris Arps from the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Make sure that you're listening to our show this afternoon from 4 to 6. Now back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show.
Susie actually flagged this yesterday. Remember Lawrence O'Donnell? Remember him?
No. Sure.
Yeah, he's actually still doing his cable access TV show, which is now known as MS Now. And he's tried to have some thoughts on some things. Yeah. I mean, one thing he weighed in on, I think it's a legitimate debate, but then he decides to go this direction, which we'll get to here in just a second. All right, 6:18. Before we do that, we got our buddy Dave on the line. Got some thoughts on the Cinco de Mayo festival, because I mispronounced it a little bit ago as well. What, Dave? How did that story hit you? What were you thinking?
Well, good morning. You may want to worry more about ATF being out there than ICE with all the recent gun violence. I mean, come on, folks. If the thing that really irritated me is, they're trying to paint this as, funds or this. Look, just be honest. Hey, look, we're scared. We canceled it. We don't want people dying here.
Mm-hmm.
They just said 2 years ago they had shootings down there. So, I mean, it's understandable you canceled. I see there's going to be more cancellations and stuff. My opinion, people aren't flocking down to that sewer. Why would you go down there to be shot?
Yeah, and there's actually been a shooting or two since then, just not at any festival, just like that happened down there as well.
Well, yeah, and I mean, the poor lady that lost her son up there in Ferguson by another 13-year-old. Look, for the past 37 years that I've paid attention to this stuff, they're always having slogans, they're always marching or all this. It's a pretty simple thing, and maybe I'm missing it. Okay, one, you don't necessarily have to have dad in the home. That's a bonus. They just need a strong, positive male and female role model. Let's not exclude mom. But if nothing else, they need a positive role model. Just at least if one person steps up and tries to be a positive role model to somebody, it doesn't have to be a dad or a mom, but someone in their life telling them, gun violence doesn't solve anything because now you've lost your life because you're going to jail or you might get killed. You've taken some. It's a circle, or I mean, it's something that can be changed. But it's I don't know the answer to it. I think I do, but people just have to step up and say, you know what, enough's enough. It sickens me. I love my city. I love it, and a toilet's cleaner than St. Louis now, and I don't want to hear this from these politicians anymore. You're more worried about putting curbs and bike lanes in than you are solving crimes.
All right,
Or am I wrong, guys?
No, I get where you're coming from. Totally, Dave. Thanks so much. And the thing is that so many people react to the violence, saying we need new laws. You can't legislate your way out of cultural breakdowns.
About laws.
Yeah, you can't legislate your way out.
This
of
is about enforcement of the laws
Right.
on the books, and then community responsibility.
Yep, exactly. All right, Lawrence O'Donnell. He was doing his commentary. I swear to God, when you showed me that video, I forgot that he had a show.
Yeah.
I completely forgot.
It always reminds me of Niles from Frasier.
Yeah. But he decided to find something to be offended by in the rescue of the U.S. airmen in Iran.
Because, of course, he did.
Yeah, exactly. So here is just part of his part of his monologue. And the funny part is he does this in such a I'm so important, dramatic pause. You need to think about what I'm saying. It's like the kid in the drama class in junior high who's trying to emulate William Shatner.
Mm-hmm.
This is how he delivers.
That's a very good, yes. I like that.
And he's bad at it.
Yep.
Okay, but here's the part in question here.
That brilliant rescue was described by the Secretary of Defense and by General Dan Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, as a long-standing American military rule of never leaving anyone behind.
We leave no man behind.
That is, of course, the old school version of the idea back when only men flew American military planes. General Dan Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, put it this way.
We leave no one behind.
The general knows, unlike Pete Hegseth, that could have been a woman they were trying to rescue, and it might be a woman the next time.
Well, maybe, but it wasn't this time. I mean,
no, and most normal people are still okay with the concept of man and mankind being the generic that encompasses every human being.
I mean, here's the thing.
Come on, Lawrence.
I get it. You're on the left. You don't like the Trump administration. That's fine. It's the marketplace of ideas. You can criticize and disagree and say stuff. That's fine. But my God, are you stretching to find that to be offended by?
They had this amazing operation, but I got to get all twisted because they used a different characterization of gender than I would prefer.
Oh, my goodness. And he's like, that could have been a woman.
Well, it couldn't have been you, Lawrence. I think we're pretty sure about that.
But it wasn't a woman.
It wasn't.
It just wasn't. And the first clip was obviously Pete Hegseth. He goes, "We leave no man behind." And I'm looking at that going, because you played that. I'm like, come on, this can't be real. It's real. Yeah, it's real. It's real. It's real. Okay. So, oh my goodness. It just goes to show you, listen, for all of you who want to be like a social media pundit, Lawrence O'Donnell having a national television show shows you that anybody can do it.
If he can do it, you can
probably do it.
Exactly.
Here's another interesting thing. I don't watch a lot of TV, but I've got there's one old home improvement show that I just love, and I'm just watching it last night. It's called what's it called? Income Property. Have you ever seen that one? Okay, so this guy goes in and these people want to renovate their homes, but they want to create a like a rental suite in their home.
So the home helps pay for
right.
itself.
So the home right, exactly. And I really like it, one, because I like those shows, but two, because they go through the whole business aspect of it and all that kind of stuff. And that's actually irrelevant to the story, but that's what I'm looking at this. And then what happens is I'm streaming this on like Philo and all these other streaming channels, and you get local ads that you can buy. Or on those, and I keep seeing an ad starting yesterday. I saw like 2 or 3 times. I saw this ad from Wesley Bell.
Okay, well, he is running for Congress,
right?
Okay.
Right, exactly. Which that doesn't surprise me. And you see a lot of these TV ads; they're going to the streaming ads now, to the streaming TV now, especially during election. And it's Wesley Bell saying Democratic Party stuff. It was nothing surprising. Like, this is part of the ad that I saw. I think I saw it 3 times during. I watched 2 episodes. I saw it 3 times. So this is part of what pops up.
It's time to fight President Trump's dangerous policies. That's why I fought to defund ICE and impeach the Secretary of Homeland Security. St. Louis families should never live in fear. I'm Wesley Bell, and I'll always fight for you.
Okay, Democratic stuff, in a Democratic district. I mean, whatever, Wesley. That's fine. It's
still better than Corey, but whatever.
Right. You're not as atrocious for saying, listen, I said, I actually get along fine with Wesley.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think I would too.
I got no personal beef with Wesley. I completely disagree with him on stuff, but the few times I've visited with him, I've had a good conversation. We've had fun. Would I vote for him? No. But he
probably wouldn't vote for you either.
He would not vote for me either. He's not an embarrassment to the city of St. Louis the way that Cori Bush is going to be. So here's the thing. That wasn't a campaign ad. That was paid for by his congressional office. That was not paid for by his campaign. It literally said right there, paid for by the office of Wesley Bell. That was not paid for by his campaign. So your taxpayer dollars.
Is that legal?
That's a darn good question, because I just assumed that's a campaign ad, and whatever, I wouldn't have even noticed it. But then I look at the bottom and I see the paid for ad. And then I said, I'm going to mention that on the show today. And I went and looked up the video, and it's on his actual congressional social media accounts. And it says right there, paid for by his office. It's not paid for by his campaign.
I didn't listen super closely, so I guess technically you could argue that isn't a campaign commercial. It's just him promoting his policies and his viewpoints, which he's able to do as a sitting congressperson. And so it's probably one of those, there's like a blurred line there.
Yeah, the whole thing is like 45 or 50 seconds. I mean, that was about 15 seconds, but that gives you the point of what it was. And there was no mention of Cori Bush. There was no mention of, another candidate.
I'm running for re-election,
There
nothing
was
like that.
Nothing like that. I'm not running for. So word by word, you could probably say that's not. Clearly, that's a campaign message.
Well, but yeah, I guess that he's far from alone in doing.
And
blurring that line, I guess.
Yeah, and there's a couple different versions that I saw actually, and they emphasize different things. But he's standing in front of the Capitol, and it's not reacting to any particular thing.
Right.
It's just saying, "Here I am fighting for you," which is.
Here I am doing the job you're paying me to.
Right.
Wink, wink,
Wink,
nudge,
wink.
nudge.
That's right.
Going to keep paying me to do it?
But it's kind of jumped out at me because, we just got done with elections, and there were so many governments that illegally campaigned for, the different tax propositions and things like that. And they're under this impression, and I actually went through this fight with a school district years ago because at one point, attorneys for like the Missouri Municipal League and the Association of Counties and all those, because when I was on the board of aldermen once, I've been on planning zoning still, but I was in office, and our Parks and Rec department bought this big stand-up display and putting it in the community center and prop whatever, and here's what happens. And I remember I think I was an alderman at the time, And I walked up and I asked the guys, I said, well, who paid for all this? I'm like, oh, we've got a budget for communications. I said, okay, but you're campaigning for this. Well, we actually don't say the words vote yes. I said, but the point of all of this is to convince people to vote yes. And he goes, well, yeah, of course we want it. I said, okay, that's illegal and unethical. Oh, our lawyers say we're clear. As long as we don't say the words vote yes or support. And that was the prevailing wisdom. And then a few years ago, there was, somebody got slapped on the hand. They're saying, no, does a reasonable person say that this is promoting?
Yeah.
I mean, like, for instance, Richmond Heights. Absolutely unapologetically used used taxpayer money to promote their Prop S, which passed pretty handily as well. And so we see this all the time, blurring that line. And with Wesley Bell, well, as long as I'm not actively talking about voting or talking about myself, I'm in the clear, but that's using taxpayer money to campaign for reelection.
Little close. It's kind of what Sam Page is in trouble for.
Exactly what Sam Page is in trouble for, except he was even more overt because his flyers said vote no.
Yeah, he didn't talk to the lawyers enough, apparently.
or they said you're fine and you follow that advice, or they said, no, dumbass, don't do this. And he goes, well, I'm Sam Page. People listen to me. Jury's going to listen to you.
I'm Sam Page.
Yeah. And people doggone it.
People like me.
I mean, he's literally the Stuart Smalley of local government.
Well, something that people don't necessarily always like are data centers, and that means that the data center debate is not going away anytime soon, and it affected some areas in the elections last week. We're going to dig into that at 6:35.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Always be yourself, unless you suck.
On News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Chance Koch with your first alert forecast. We're going to be tracking afternoon highs towards the lower 80s, mostly sunny skies, a warm day into Friday, some scattered showers throughout the day, off and on, a high of 71 degrees. Then a few storms scattered throughout the upcoming weekend. Still a decent amount of dry time, temperatures mid-70s Saturday, back towards the lower 80s into Sunday afternoon, and even warmer to start off early portions of next week. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Koch.
Hey, Jamie Allman here, looking for the ultimate escape? Well, welcome to Santino's, where luxury meets authenticity in a stunning 6,000 square foot destination. Browse hundreds of premium cigars in the walk-in humidor. Explore more than 700 bottles of whiskey. Whether it's their non-smoking wine room, gaming lounge with custom poker tables, it's Santino's just off Highway 55 at the Imperial exit. See them at Santino'sCigarCocktails.com. That's Santino'sCigarCocktails.com.
I'm in my late 60s. My husband died a few years ago. He did all of our taxes. I sold a piece of property last year, and I forgot to claim the proceeds of the sale. Next thing I know, I got a letter from the IRS telling me that I owe over $50,000. Now I have a huge tax problem. I don't have that kind of money. I wish I knew who to call.
If you sold property in the last calendar year or didn't claim all of your part-time or even retirement income, you could be in big trouble with the IRS. Call first before they send you a letter. If you've already got a letter, call. We'll help you file years of past tax returns and save you time and money. So call the tax doctor. The call is confidential and free.
800-240-4586. 800-240-4586. 800-240-4586. That's 800-240-4586.
Number one for live and local conservative talk.
I just would like to get your comments on that. I'm so glad that you're on the radio, and I want to thank you for that.
I'll tell you why.
101.9 and 94.1.
I love these people.
St. Louis is number one for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Hey guys, Billy Crow here from Jeffco Patriot Radio. Hope you had enough time to freshen up your coffee, because now we're back with Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Garbage.
Shirley Manson.
Yeah, Garbage, the pretty good band.
awesome. I saw them in concert. They just owned that stage.
Oh, I imagine so. Yeah, I always like this band. It was kind of like mid '90s. I think they came out, something like that. Yeah.
I can play more garbage if you like garbage.
This is
like
good,
garbage.
That's a good band. All right, we need data centers somewhere. We got to have them. A lot of people say build them. Just don't build them here. Just build them somewhere else.
If you build it someplace else.
Yeah, and I need. By the way, I need to tweet about that right now, and because data centers, and so that's what's interesting is, and listen, I understand there are good faith arguments on both sides of this. I mean, but there are some real electoral consequences that just happened in Jefferson County. You look at this Festus, 4 older people thrown out of office, 3 of whom were pretty vocal supporters of the data center. I don't know if the 4th one just got caught up in all of the throw the bums out mentality or what happened. But Jefferson County in particular is dealing in the middle. I mean, they're in the middle of the data center sort of debate. And, Jefferson County Councilman Billy Crow joining us right now. Of course, you can hear him every weekend here with Jeffco Patriot Radio as well. So, Billy, let me first ask you, when the results came in the Festus, and obviously you're on the county council, not on the Festus council, but when you see this in your backyard, in your county, where 4 older critters are thrown out of City Hall, and it's pretty clear that voters were mad about the data center thing, what was your reaction to those election results?
Honestly, it wasn't a huge surprise. I think there was a little hope for some that the silent majority that says, as long as you keep my taxes low and my roads paved, like we don't really care about data centers, more of those people would come out. But those folks didn't come out. I mean, they do exist. I've been hearing from a lot of them. But the people that were the most motivated were those that were very vocally against this, and they came out. Now, what was very surprising was early on, the first results that came in, obviously, are the absentee or no excuse early election, right? And those, some of the incumbents were actually winning after that came in. So it seems like the older guard, that may not get out to vote on voting day, but vote absentee, were a little more inclined to either hadn't been hearing what was going on, right, or were more inclined to be for those who voted for the data center. But at the end of the night, it was a clean sweep. There was very much a lot of animosity. And one of the pieces that people were originally very upset about before this thing took on a life of its own was how the city kind of handled it. They didn't have a really good PR footing out there, right? They didn't really get ahead of it very well. And so a lot of the folks just always kind of felt left in the dark. And so that really kind of started the ball rolling. So anybody out there talking about data centers, looking at data centers, thinking about that, if you're on any kind of elected board or commission, get ahead of it, get ahead of the PR, and actually start talking to people about it, so it doesn't feel like something's trying to get swept in under the rug, because that's what really gets people very, very upset.
Sure, absolutely. When they think you're putting one over on them. Good morning, Billy. One of the news reports I saw on this, kind of the follow up to this, was that the people that voted these alder or council members out, they're not done. They're looking about maybe trying to recall the mayor and recall the rest of the council, the ones who were not up for re-election. So this is, obviously a pretty healthy contingent of people that are very exercised about this issue. And how do you see that spilling over into, the broader county discussion on it?
Well, that's a great point and a great question. They did an excellent job of being at the polls collecting signatures for trying to get people recalled, and I've heard rumors that they've got the signatures they need. We'll see. Time will tell. But as far as the greater county picture, this has really been something that the Democratic Party in Jefferson County, I know they say this is nonpartisan issue, Republicans and Democrats alike. But no, the Democratic Party in Jefferson County has saw this as their lightning rod, their chance to get back in power. And I think one of the pieces that really shows that is the Democratic Central Committee in Jefferson County is having an awards banquet in a couple of weeks, and one of the big proponents of this big leaders of this anti-data center movement is getting their Rising Star and Jeffco Achievement Award. So clearly, and Jesse Shepard, who is always running as a Democrat in District 114, is kind of making this her campaign piece. And so very much so, the Democrats are trying to use this as leverage to gain power. Now, as far as the county goes, we are working on trying to get ordinances in line. So again, trying to stay ahead of all this versus what Festus did, of saying, there's a good chance they might come to town. When they do, we want to not be on our heels trying to make regulations, but we have good regulations in place. And I think we're about to pass some good regulations because we have none right now. Right now they can come in and do whatever they want in the county, and so we're trying to prevent that from happening. But I mean, I've already got the emails to my my county email address that has said make sure you pay attention to. I mean, literally said pay attention to April 7th. We're coming for you guys next. And so they've made their statement, and I know there are folks at the state level and one on the council that are working with this anti-data center group, trying to because they would prefer to see the county stay horse and buggy, and that's a shame because we got a lot to offer the Missouri and greater St. Louis area.
Okay, we're visiting with Billy Crow. Of course, you can hear him every weekend here with Jeffco Patriot Radio, also a member of the Jefferson County Council, as well as he just mentioned. So, Billy, then from a county perspective, what is the reach of the county's say in all of this? I mean, is it just in unincorporated areas, or can you set some guidelines that would affect the entire county, even if it's inside a municipality? And then my follow-up question, just to let you know, is going to be, well, what are the good rules and lanes? What does that look like for any development that's going to be on there?
Sure. So all we can control is what the unincorporated sections of the county can do. And so, but it really sets the tone for the rest of the incorporated county, and it sets a kind of a tone. Like, there's a reason that this the data center that wants to go into Festus decided to be annexed by Festus, because they thought they would have an easier time with the municipality versus the unincorporated county, right? Because the unincorporated county likes to stay a little more rural. So I mean, we are setting a tone there a little bit. Now, as far as what is good regulation, right? Let's talk about the issues that most people are having that are legitimate issues, right? Some of them are crazy, Alex Jones kind of stuff, but other ones are like legitimate, right? So let's talk about that. Nobody wants it in their backyard. Okay. First off, if you don't own it, it's not your backyard. However, I understand if you bought in a residential area and you had a nice view of other residential homes, you don't want to see a big industrial building. So we're looking at good setbacks. We're looking at good buffers. Then the next thing is sound. Everybody's worried about sound. Okay, great. Let's put some good quiet sound ordinances on the books there. And then obviously energy consumption and water consumption. So making sure we've got things in place that make sure Senate Bill 4 and what the Public Service Commission has in store, like, takes care of our citizens, to make sure our citizens don't have to pay the fare, the electric for these data centers. And then obviously water consumption, whether that is the consumption of water, making sure it's not depleting our aquifers, but also making sure wastewater, if there's any wastewater incidents, that stuff, when it has to go back through the system, is cared for as well, so that it is coming through fresh water. And again, we brought in, when we were going through the regulations that we're about to propose here in a couple of weeks, we really went through looking at professionals, engineers that do this stuff for a living. Some might say, well, they got a vested interest in it. Well, not necessarily, because they do all kinds of different projects. They're just specialized in sound, electric, water, things like that. But one thing I will say is the legislation we have coming is, I think, a good compromise, because folks like myself are very upset because this is considered an industrial project, and there's more regulations on the noise, sound, all these regulations on this than are on a concrete plant or a junkyard or a lead smelter, right? And so I feel like it's being punished because it's got a bad PR more than what it actually is going to what it's actually going to do negatively for the community. But on the other side, there's those that want no development whatsoever. And so I think it's the best of both worlds. I think we've got a good shot at setting the standard for what good legislation for a data center looks like. So,
Bill, you've kind of answered this, but how do you get out ahead of this messaging? Because there are a lot of people who are very passionate about this issue. Some of them are not particularly well informed. They just have something they heard on the internet, and therefore it's true.
Right.
But then there are people that are maybe like mildly skeptical, but they're hearing all of these horror stories, and so they're inclined to go to be opposed to it. How do you get out ahead of that and make sure that people are fully informed, that it's adequately transparent, so that they can get behind it or at least be informed about it when they are voting on it?
Well, so here's the deal: is most folks, and I've noticed this as we've gone through it with the county council, looking through all these regulations and taking all these committee meetings and working through this. Most people, at the end of the day, whatever you do, they're not going to be satisfied. But if they feel like you heard them and you tried to see it from their point of view, and you kind of met in the middle, and they know you're trying to do the best job you can, right, through over communicating, giving them opportunities to communicate. Our Economic Development Opportunity Committee, right? Typically, we don't allow public comments in it because it's just kind of our work time. But when we've gone through the data center regulations, we provided ample time again and again for community to come out and speak. And it was really, really cool to see the first meeting. People were there and they were yelling and they were all upset and they were talking over the time and they were very passionate, right? But as we went, slowly there were fewer and fewer people, and they were going to, hey, you might have missed this. Hey, thank you for looking at this. And we kind of took all the fire out of it because we were listening. We heard them. We made adjustments to try to make a compromise to hear what they were saying. And I think that's what you have to do, and it takes time. You have to be slow and methodical. I mean, for the county, we started on this process, I think, back in November, and we're just now talking about hopefully this month, by the end of this month, passing regulations. And we still haven't even seen anybody necessarily want to build a data center in unincorporated Jefferson County yet, right? Versus what you saw in Festus, which was someone came to them and said, hey, we want to build this here. We want to do annex. We want to adjust the zoning, and we want to get some ordinances in place, and then all of a sudden it was moving before anybody really could see felt like they could see what was going on, right? So I think it's all about taking it slow, letting the people have their voices heard, and just over communicating is the best thing you can do.
All right, Billy Crow, Jefferson County Councilman, obviously Jeffco Patriot Radio. I know we're not into this weekend show just yet, but any hints and previews of what's coming up this week on Jeffco Patriot Radio?
Well, the big thing is going to obviously be voter turnout rundown, right? The election rundown, because not only is Festus a complete overhaul, but Arnold once again, second year in a row, besides E.J. Fleischman, who ran unopposed, all the incumbents got knocked out again. And the auditor's report happened to come out the night before the election. And spoiler alert, I think it had a lot to do with the result of that election. So.
All right, Jeffco Patriot Radio this weekend. Thanks a lot, Billy.
Thank you guys for having me on. Talk to you later.
Thanks, Billy. Hey, the biggest Cinco de Mayo celebration in the city has been canceled, and we've got the details on that in the news dump at 6:50.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
If you want to be one of the nonconformists, all you have to do is dress just like us and listen to the same music we do.
On NewsTalkSTL.
I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
NewsTalkSTL.
Now, the Free Market Minute, brought to you by the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University.
Hey, it's Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show, and I'm here with Dr. Grant Black. And Grant, does having more economic freedom make a difference in people's lives, such as maybe helping reduce poverty?
It definitely makes a difference. Economic freedom is critical for fostering well-being and prosperity. It enables people to make their own choices and pursue their own interest, like choosing careers, starting businesses, and innovating to make the world better. It thrives in environments that empower people, promote competition, and protect property rights, all while being supported by limited and healthy government. Economic freedom is a catalyst for generating higher incomes, greater wealth, more opportunities, better access to education, and improved health at all levels of society. It makes a difference.
The John W. Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University fosters and examines market-oriented approaches to economic and social issues. To learn more, visit hammondinstitute.org.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
It is an honor and a privilege to have U.S. Senator Eric Schmidt.
Hey, I have to tell you, I don't know if I've ever told you this. In the 90s, when would this have been? Mid-90s.
Yeah.
And I was I worked at Grant's Farm, and I had a couple other jobs. In the afternoon, I would often hear and listen to Porcelli's Deli on the radio.
Thank you so much. Thank you for listening. Thank you for making me feel older than I already feel. That's just great.
Vic Porcelli, live and local, weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Spring has sprung at Daniel's Farming Greenhouses on Joggerman and St. Peters. Discover our breathtaking 55,000 square feet of greenhouses featuring 8,000 hanging baskets, hundreds of perennials, and 100,000 pods of colorful annuals. From vegetable plants to premium grass seed, mulch to herbs, our knowledgeable staff is ready to answer all your questions. Start spring off right with pansies, potted tulips, and everything your garden craves. Daniel's Farming Greenhouses. Visit us today on Joggerman or online at danielsfarminggreenhouses.com.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
I love that you're starting your day off right with Mike Ferguson in the Morning. It's your boy Joe Pags. Talk to you tonight. But now let's get back to Mike.
Okay, so the Middle East is starting to look a little more like something with the ceasefire.
Maybe the news trickled down.
They finally got the word on the homing pigeons.
Someone got the memo.
The homing pigeons landed and they weren't shot down by somebody.
Right.
All right. And also, as Susie just said, the city's biggest Cinco de Mayo party not happening.
No.
Not happening.
Bummer.
Not that there won't be some around the area, just the biggest one in the city.
Some people will be having some margaritas.
If any time there's an excuse to drink, people are going to find the location to go.
St. Louis excels at that.
Hey, we got to be good at something, right? All right, the Cardinals off to a pretty decent start.
Yeah.
They're surprising some people because, again, you've got the youngest roster in all of Major League Baseball. A lot of inexperience on there.
You may end up having to pay up on that bet to Scooter.
I may have to, and I will be thrilled to lose that bet.
Well, I'll be happy if you lose that bet, to be honest.
Yes, absolutely. I will happily make that charitable contribution. All right, it is, what the heck time is it? 6:50 right now. Let's go ahead and do another news dump.
The Morning News Dump. Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks.
The Morning News Dump.
Okay, Vice President J.D. Vance, right before coming back to Washington, D.C. from Hungary, spoke to reporters about the 2-week ceasefire agreement, which is, shall we say, fragile at best.
The United States has certain demands and certain things that we want. The Iranians have things they can get out of the negotiation. The more that they're willing to give us, I think the more they're going to get things out of this negotiation. The president's talked about sanctions relief.
Okay, so basically this is all going to come down to, is Iran going to open up the Strait of Hormuz and let all of that oil get shipped through? And we're getting conflicting reports every few hours. Yes, it's open. They've agreed. No, they've closed it. Yes, they've opened it, but only to their friends. But they're charging a $2 million thing. They want complete control. So the details are still shaking out, basically.
They definitely are. It's there's a lot that still needs to be worked out and to be spelled out.
Yep. All right. Young men could be, I want to talk about this in the 7 o'clock. I want to go into more depth on this. Young men could be registered for the draft automatically under a rule change that's being reviewed right now. The Hill, Military Times, a bunch of other publications are among those reporting that the Selective Service System is requesting the rule change that would automatically register eligible men between the ages of 18 and 25, which is 99% of all men between 18 and 25, into a pool of potential draftees. Now, right now, all of those men are required to register. They have to go do it. And I think when I did it in 1980, 89, I guess it was just like a postcard size thing. And then you checked which branch that if they decided to come take ownership of you, where would you land, basically?
Yeah.
So what they want to do is just simply do it for you. Yeah, they would do it for you. Now, right now, if an 18 to 25 does not register, they actually technically could face jail time and fines. Technically speaking, I don't think that's been prosecuted since the 70s.
I think you're correct on that. I just was wondering how that works out with the whole trans thing.
Good question. Yeah, good question. I would think under the
under this administration,
under the mental illness part of it, they wouldn't take them. But yeah, the draft has not actually been used since the Vietnam War in the 1970s. To me, that's not the point, because anybody goes, "Oh, don't worry about it. We haven't used that in 50 years." No. I think we need to worry about it, and we'll get into why. I've got a lot of thoughts on this, and some of them may not sit well with everybody. We'll see how it goes. All right, 8 people now arrested in California this week in connection with the hospice fraud network investigation from the DOJ. Department of Justice saying that over $50 million that they know of has been stolen in the course of the operation. What they're alleging, what they're saying is that healthy people were picked up, driven to wherever. Suspects, the suspects billed Medicare for services that were never delivered and not needed at all, even without providing any sort of treatment. U.S. Attorney for the Central District of California, Bill Esali, was on Fox Business's The Bottom Line last night.
We think it's going to be in the billions, if not over $100 billion.
That's a lot of money.
That's, I mean, as bad as Minnesota is, I don't want to trivialize that, but it looks like this is going to make Minnesota look like peanuts.
Tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, that's nuts. And then you look, and you probably look into every single state, because there were just some convictions in St. Louis.
Yeah.
With a daycare system that was kind of similar to what was taken in Minnesota. Now, I think it's going to be a lot smaller here, but I think you're going to find it in every state.
It's not limited to blue states, but it may be worse in them, particularly because of the population centers. I mean, that's just kind of the numbers of it.
Yep. All right. Another St. Louis festival is canceled. Another one.
Ooh.
Yeah, this time it's Cherokee Street's Cinco de Mayo celebration, completely called off for this year. KMOV's Kimberly Donahue explains what happened.
Festival organizers announced the cancellation Wednesday afternoon, less than a month before the event, citing rising costs and the festival's increasing scale.
We saw a noticeable shortfall in the funding that was coming through this year.
John Jern is the director of events for the Cherokee Street Neighborhood Improvement District, which helps put on the festival. He says organizers also thought about the 2 shootings at the festival in 2023 and community concerns about ICE, but neither were the main reasons for canceling.
Okay, so that improvement district for Cherokee Street that she just referenced tells KMOV that they have not made a decision on whether the festival will come back next year or not.
I'd be interested to know, though, exactly why hasn't there been the funding?
Right.
You need to dig a layer deeper there.
But a CID, their funding comes from typically a sales tax in that district that funds it. So I don't know if that means that their revenues are simply down.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think it bears taking a look at.
Right. And that would be the city hollowing out still, if that's the case on this. Now, I got to think that the violent crime issue is bigger than probably what they're letting on.
Probably.
Yeah. So, but still, that's a huge festival that's just gone now. Another one. Yep. Let's see here. We haven't talked about Artemis yet today.
No.
Yeah. The astronauts did a series of interviews from the space. the space thing that they're in. Artemis 2 and his crew conducted historic lunar flyby, as you know, this week, traveling farther from Earth than any humans have ever done before, and even surpassing Apollo 13's mission in 1970. Artemis 2 mission specialist Christina Koch explains what she's actually going to miss when she gets back down here to Earth.
I will miss being this close with this many people and having a common purpose, a common mission, getting to work on it hard every day across hundreds of thousands of miles with a team on the ground. This sense of teamwork is something that you don't usually get as an adult.
Okay, so the plans from NASA are to have at least one moon landing and possibly a second in 2028.
It's coming. It's going to happen.
And all of this is with eyes on Mars.
Of course.
In the future here. All right, the Cardinals pick up the series win in Washington. They beat the Nationals 6-1. Michael McGreevy gets his first win of the season. Jordan Walker hit another home run. That's 3 games in a row with a home run.
That's amazing.
He's already got 5 home runs this season.
Go, Jordan, go.
Yep, Alec Burleson also drove in 4 runs. No game for the Redbirds today. It's a travel day. They're back at home tomorrow, starting a series with the Red Sox. The Ambush are moving on to the MASL semifinals in indoor soccer. They beat Kansas City in the knockout game, and game 1 of the next round, the semifinals, is against San Diego. That's going to be Friday the 17th at the Family Arena. Blues play the Jets tonight at the Enterprise Center. That puck drops at 7.
License number GL250000615.
Hey, it's good to hear you.
Hey, Dad, isn't it good to see ya?
Yep, but with smoke alarms, we need to hear them. If one alarm is downstairs, you might not hear it upstairs.
At school, everyone hears the fire alarm.
That's why we install hardwired smoke alarms that all go off together, just like school.
Smoke alarms done the right way.
Green is always grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on NewsTalkSTL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
What if your child's education went beyond test scores, fostering a life of cheerful virtue and the pursuit of excellence as a gift returned to God? At the St. Austin School, Catholic and classical education come together. No tablets or laptops in the classroom. A 12-to-1 student-teacher ratio. Our students successfully compete and lead at their choice of top high schools in St. Louis. Learn more at staustinschool.org. That's staustinschool.org.
If you love your pet, which I know you do, then they deserve the excellent treatment and care they'll receive at Pacific Animal Hospital in Pacific, Missouri, a full-service veterinarian facility. Originally built and grown by my dad, Dr. Bill Jones, a new generation of wonderful veterinarians and staff at Pacific continue to provide outstanding medical, surgical, dental, boarding, and grooming services for your favorite furry friends. Our family entrusts the care of our pets only to the experienced docs and staff at Pacific Animal Hospital. You should too. Call them today, 636-257-2100, 24/7 at PacificVets.com, PacificVets.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNVS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. Angry over Israel's attacks on Hezbollah targets in Lebanon, Iran has once again obstructed traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. Correspondent Kareem Chihayeb in Beirut says the attacks have been devastating, with civilians caught in the middle.
Here in the Beirut neighborhood of Ain Mreisin, rescue workers have been searching overnight for any bodies in this building. This building behind me is one of dozens in the heart of the Lebanese capital struck by Israel yesterday. These strikes rocked the entire country. They came without warning in midday. People are horrified because there are still people missing. You can see family members and residents here waiting to see if they can find their missing relatives and loved ones.
The U.S. contends that Lebanon is not part of the ceasefire with Iran. Iran and Lebanon beg to differ on that point. The British Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper worries a dispute could derail the fragile ceasefire agreement.
We want this ceasefire to continue. We don't want a return to conflict, and we crucially want to see the Strait of Hormuz reopened, because this is crucial for the global economy and for tackling the cost of living pressures here at home. And no country should be allowed to hijack these international shipping routes that impact the entire world and the entire world's economy.
He spoke with Sky News. President Trump warns Iran to honor terms of the truce or face the wrath of the U.S. military once again. The UK says British and Norwegian militaries led an operation to deter Russian submarines suspected of malign activity in the North Atlantic. Defense Secretary John Healey says a frigate, planes, and hundreds of personnel monitored a Russian attack sub and 2 spy submarines for almost a month. On Wall Street, the Dow futures down 183 points, NASDAQ futures off 47. More on these stories, townhall.com.
If your investments are in a 401k or an IRA, then listen carefully. You spent 30, maybe 40 years building your retirement. The question is, are you about to watch it take a hit you can't recover from? Military escalation in Iran, tariffs and legal chaos, the U.S. dollar under pressure it hasn't seen in years. History is clear. When this much uncertainty hits at once, the investors who moved into gold and silver first came out ahead. Right now, Advantage Gold is offering a free gold investment kit and a free copy of economist Ken Rogoff's powerful new book, Our Dollar, Your Problem. Call Advantage Gold now at 800-900-8000. Thousands of Americans have already rolled over a portion of their 401k or IRA into physical gold and silver, completely tax and penalty free through Advantage Gold. Don't wait for the next surge to wish you had moved sooner. Results vary. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Chance Koch with your first alert forecast. We're going to be tracking afternoon highs towards the lower 80s, mostly sunny skies, a warm day into Friday, some scattered showers throughout the day, off and on, a high of 71 degrees. Then a few storms scattered throughout the upcoming weekend. Still a decent amount of dry time, temperatures mid-70s Saturday, back towards the lower 80s into Sunday afternoon, and even warmer to start off early portions of next week. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Koch.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
42% of Missouri fourth graders can barely read. 42%. It's the worst result in 20 years. If kids can't read by third grade, they fall behind in school, and many never catch up. But other states have provided a roadmap for success. Missouri needs one universal reading test for all third graders and one clear statewide standard for what it means to pass that test. A struggling reader who still can't read after extra help and a second chance at the test should repeat third grade with some exemptions. We also need to end the outdated 3Qing method, which encourages guessing instead of reading, and require teachers to be trained in the science of reading. In Mississippi and Indiana, test scores jumped up dramatically after these reforms, and Missouri can do the same. Missouri children deserve to become confident, capable readers, and strong early literacy reforms can make it happen. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by the Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Mike Ferguson.
I'm a stud. I'm ballsy. I don't take no from anyone.
Susie Moore.
I disagree on his assessment of the situation.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice. Drain the swamp and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
And a lot of people really reacting to this Cinco de Mayo cancellation in the city.
No one likes a party pooper.
That's right. Well, who's the party pooper? Let's talk about who pooped.
That's a good question.
Who pooped at the party?
Ew.
No.
Bad manners.
Especially, yeah. We're talking about Mexican food, too. So I don't get into that. All right. Let's get into...
Now I need a shot of tequila.
Yeah. Hey, yes. You know what?
I have an idea for Cinco de Mayo.
That's right. 7:05 right now, going on 7:06. Listen, keep your news consumption easy, even if the news is not easy. And of course, you do that with redstate.com, your one-stop shop for news and opinion. So, Susie, what would be big on Red State today?
This is the Red State Rundown.
Big on Red State today, we've got from Bob Hogue. Zeldin Zing's climate fanatics says U.S. will no longer bend the knee to the gloom and doom crowd. This is, of course, EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin. He was at a conference speaking recently and basically was kind of saying, look, we're going to follow the actual science.
Yeah.
We're not going to play your little political agenda games anymore. So that's a good read if you want to check that out.
He's actually been excellent on these sorts of things. He's been really impressive.
Really has. This kind of caused a stir yesterday. Ward Clark has the article. I can never pronounce her name. Irina Zarutska. Irina Zarutska's accused killer found incapable to proceed to trial. Now, this is the state court proceeding. This is that he was basically found not mentally competent for now. It's not the end of the road. It doesn't mean he's not going to be tried. It doesn't mean he's not going to be held accountable. And there's still the federal prosecution as well. So people that were kind of like losing their minds over this, it's okay. He's not going anywhere. But for now, this is delayed.
Because that's not a get-out-of-jail-free card.
It is
it's
not.
Like, oh, you're crazy. Go on back out on the street.
And we're pretty sure he's crazy. So, I mean, there's some legitimacy to that. Ward Clark also has this one. FBI, former special ops employee arrested for passing classified files to media and others. This has been really kind of getting a buzz on social media. I haven't had a chance to dig into the story yet, but if you want to, go read Ward's article. It gives you kind of the rundown of what's going on with this.
Because we're talking about a leak out of the government, out of in this case the intelligence community.
Yes, and
not the journalist side of it, but the leak out of
the journalist that she leaked it to wrote about it in a book and named her as the source. Like it was kind of one of those like. I don't even really understand this guy's thought process, but she's in big trouble, and this is really causing a buzz.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Redstate.com. Okay, man, people are really got some strong thoughts on the Cinco de Mayo thing. And here's the thing: is I was not planning to go to the Cherokee Street Cinco de Mayo thing.
No.
I just I don't mind a good Cinco de Mayo party. I just and Cherokee Street's very colorful and very quirky, and it's got its own vibe. And if you're a Cherokee Street person, you're a Cherokee Street person.
Sure.
I mean, it's like any other neighborhood in the area. So this is the biggest festival for Cinco de Mayo in the city.
In the city.
I don't know if there may be one bigger somewhere in the region, but not that I know of. I mean, there's several others. I mean, if you want to go Cinco de Mayo party, you're going to find a party somewhere. It's going to be out there.
Your local neighborhood Mexican restaurant,
exactly.
or to your friend's house. I mean, there's going to be plenty of Cinco de Mayoing.
Going to be something going on there. But the interesting thing, and the article, Kimberly Donahue's story on KMOV, she started off by talking to one of the business owners. And basically the business owner is saying, this was really big for us every year. Not only did we sell stuff, and it was like a Western wear store, not only did we sell stuff, but we always picked up new customers from people coming to visit Cherokee Street. And that was one of the points of the Community Improvement District doing this. Now, I've got a lot of beef with community improvement districts to start with. I don't like those. I don't like the tax increment financing. I don't like the CIDs. I don't like any of that. But that has nothing to do with this story right here.
Right.
Is they cited in her story that we are concerned about the funding because you've got the CID, tax money that goes into their budget. Then there, I guess, would be sponsorships, and there could be grants, and there could be all kinds of stuff. And for whatever reason, they said, we're just worried about the funding of this thing because of the scale of it. But they did cite that there were some concerns about the violent crime. They also said, but it was almost in passing, there were worries about ICE. Because you know what you're gonna have a burrito and a tequila, so ICE is gonna come get you.
Right.
They
profiling.
Yeah. Their argument was that was mentioned, that may have been a factor, but they didn't. They indicated that was not the overriding factor. Now, how much of that's true or not, I don't know. I'm going to take them at their word and say that this was frankly about money, but I'm not going to take them at their word to say that the violent crime was mentioned, but not really an overriding factor. I think that is a big factor in anything in the city right now.
I think it's inescapable. But also, it's a vicious cycle. If they're saying they don't have the funding to support this, and then they're saying that this is one of their biggest, money makers in the process, it's like then I don't know how it's ever going to be revived or revitalized if that's the issue.
Right. And they are. KMOV asked them, they said, well, what about next year? And they basically said, we don't know. Is this the end of it, or is this a matter of we got to get through a rough patch? Because like the Annie Malone parade and festival was canceled last year. And then this year they were going to cancel it again. They canceled the parade, but they're going to do like a street party. So they're still going to do something. But costs and expenses were part of it. Now, keep in mind, part of the cost on these things is insurance.
Yes.
Massive. And then obviously you've got to have the insurance requires you to have a bunch of security. And then, you've got other expenses that go into that. So that I suspect is probably the majority of this. The Taste of St. Louis. That's left the city altogether. That's now in Clayton, which makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Just from a safety perspective. And frankly, where do people have money? Clayton. Where do they oftentimes not have money? The city.
Right.
I mean, there are pockets of it. Drive up and down Lindell. You're going to see a lot of money out there. But the reality is that this, what was it? One of the, was it Evolution Fest or one of those, the big music thing? That was one. And then I think Point Fest got moved at one point.
Point Fest has been out at Riverport.
Yeah,
really.
for a while. But there was another. What was it?
Well, there was Strassenfest for
Maybe
years.
that was it.
That was the big German festival, usually like in late July.
Yeah.
So it was like you'd have VP Fair, and then you'd have Strassenfest.
Yeah, but we're seeing things canceled all the time in the city right now. And some people are saying the hard part out loud. Others are going to try to say, well, it just cost of living and inflation. It's all going up. But the hard part is the hard part.
Mike, if we wouldn't be such hard asses about the teens and the street takeovers, that's their own party.
Right.
They're just trying to add to the culture of the city.
Yeah. And the thing is that these things are fun, and they are the things that can actually help rejuvenate communities.
Yeah, they are.
They do provide those intangibles.
I mean, I grew up in Baldwin, so a good 25 minutes away from the city easily, but we would go down to the city all the time. I mean, it was not at all uncommon to go down to the different festivals, that sort of thing, and really didn't worry that much in terms of the safety and the crime and that sort of thing at that point in time. It was like there was safety in numbers. So if you were going to a big event, you felt like it was going to be okay.
Yeah, but could you go, like, for instance, and the odds are that they're an event like in the middle of the day at the Cherokee Street Fest, you're probably okay. Although they've had some bullets flying in the day, it's happened. Your chances are better than not.
Correct.
But is that how you're going to spend your? Is that how you're going to calculate what you're going to go do for fun? We're better off than not. The chances are better than 50%.
Right.
I'm not around
if
that.
that's in the calculation, you're probably going to default to staying closer to home.
Right.
And something that's maybe a little bit less, carries a little less risk.
Or you're going to drive even farther out. You're going to say, instead of that, maybe let's see what St. Charles has. Let's see what Chesterfield has. Let's see, something like that. And that's what's happening with these events is people are saying, because they're more organic in these old neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And then it's got a better vibe to it. But you can't escape the overall decay of the city.
No, I know. It's like a vicious cycle.
Yeah, nobody wants to talk about it that way, but that's what's happening. I mean, think about the 4th of July. They're not talking about, they mentioned, there was a shooting a couple years ago at the Cinco de Mayo Festival, like 2-3 years ago. But 4th of July last year, you had the violence. You had all the problems. Now, the police have gone out and cracked down with curfews and all that sort of thing, so they're getting a handle on it. But these things aren't that far removed. The KMOV didn't mention, but it's happened at 4th of July. It's happened at other events too. And it took a massive police presence and a no tolerance policy on curfews to even make a dent in it recently when the when the NCAA tournament was in town.
For 314 Day.
314, yeah, that's right. 314 Day got stupid as well. And so the bottom line is there are, I'm sure, a minority, but a sizable minority of people in the city who simply, and I'm talking about a numerical minority, who just simply cannot behave themselves or think twice or think things through, and they just act stupid. And that is not just in the city, but they've actually caught a number of people coming in from the burbs.
Oh, yeah.
To participate in the stupidity in the city.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Basically.
That's what it boils down to.
That's the headline.
Ruining all the fun for everybody.
Yeah.
Doggone it.
Yeah. I mean, and, listen, I'm a straight white guy who does conservative talk. I'm not the target audience for Cherokee Street. Okay. I'm not the guy that they actually want, but I still think this is a really sad development.
I'm a big fan of parties. I don't really care where they are. We haven't had a military draft in this country since 1973, so why are some people talking about it now? We'll explain at 7:20.
Making cold mind to fight your war. Stop it right now. I have had enough of this. Turn my eyes to you.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
I like it, but they're going a little overboard with the dancing.
On News Talk STL.
Normally when I'm talking about my friends at Whistle Pig Outdoors in Troy, I'm talking about all the fantastic outdoors gear, and you hunters that you need to check them out for the great waders and the decoys, especially if you're an archery hunter. But let me tell you something. I'm doing something totally different. Speaking of parties here, they are having a party this Saturday, and you are invited. The Gobbler Gear Up. This is happening right there in their parking lot on Main Street in Troy. WhistlePigOutdoors.com. Get more information there. This is happening this Saturday, April 11th, 9:30 to 4:30. So how about this? An authentic Cajun cookout, man. Authentic gumbo. They're going to have a crawfish broil. You know what? Going to be a beer truck there. There's going to be music there. And the cost for this is nothing. So check them out. Go say hi, man. This is going to be a lot of fun. Matter of fact, they've got a bunch of raffles, like $5,000 in raffle prizes. This is the first year that they're doing the party out there, and it's going to be a great time. So 9:30 to 4:30 in the parking lot of Whistle Pig Outdoors. And matter of fact, the store is going to be open and 20% off of all turkey hunting gear and clothing. And once again, this is completely free at Whistle Pig Outdoors, WhistlePigOutdoors.com. Be sure to check it out. Join the fun. I mean, come on, man. It's an authentic gumbo Cajun cookout happening right there. Whistle Pig Outdoors. Go get your party on, Cajun and outdoorsy style with Whistle Pig Outdoors.
Colombo and Company.
Join us every day for conversations with a wide variety of guests as we keep you informed and up to speed on all the important news and headlines you need to know.
Live and local weekdays at 2 on NewsTalkSTL.
No pain, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Never paint again with Rhino Shield. Listen to what a couple of happy customers have to say.
My family's business is over 10,000 square feet, and it did not have the curb appeal I wanted. Our building was really faded. You came out, you gave me all of these options that would fit my building. I don't want to have to paint my building again. 25 years is a long time to not have to worry about the outside maintenance of your building as far as paint. That's a no-brainer. That's why Rhino Shield worked for me.
What a wonderful job they did. It's beautiful. They were very thoughtful, kind, considerate guys. Appreciate all the work that these two young men did.
Call Rhino Shield, 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
No pain, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too. It's only called STL Windows and Doors. Their Provia windows combine old world craftsmanship the professional way, the Provia way, with over 65 years of combined experience, locally owned, offering competitive pricing and personalized service that the big box companies can't match. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or stlwindowsanddoors.com.
This app is absolutely fantastic.
Yes, I listen on my phone.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
It is awesome.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Hey folks, Jamie Allman here, waiting for you for the 3 Martini Lunch, the Common Sense Radio, the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Now back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Okay, there's a push in the federal government right now to automatically register young men for the draft, basically calling dibs on their lives just in case for a few years, for about 7 years. That's essentially what we've got with conscription in the country. And this kind of popped up at me because I saw the headlines, and I don't remember why we mentioned the draft a couple weeks ago. I don't remember what it was that was up.
Maybe it was at the beginning of the Iran conflict.
Maybe stuff. That was it. I think it was like somebody was pitching a fit about, they're going to bring back the draft and send us all to Iran, which, I'm not worried about. They said that last time that we went in the Middle East back in the early 2000s as well, or the first time. And so, but I saw it on The Hill, and then I saw it on Military Times, and then I saw it on Channel 2, and I saw the same story, is that inside it still needs to be finalized and approved, and it's connected to the Defense Authorization Act. So that's the wonky part of all of this. But essentially, the change that's being suggested, and to the bureaucrat, they say, well, it's just efficiency. And what they're doing is if you're 18 to 25, we know who you are. We've got your information from all your school and birth certificate and everything. You're just automatically put into the pool of draftees if this rule gets changed. Because right now, if you're 18,
you have to manually.
You have to go manually do it, or maybe you could do it online or whatever it is. When I turned 18, we had to go. I think I got it at the post office. I think is where I got it. In Quincy.
That sounds right.
I think I got it at the post office in Quincy, Illinois.
Right.
And you fill out this card.
You have to affirmatively do something.
Right. They handed you this postcard size thing back then, which would have been like 89 or something like that. And you sign it and you check one of the four, one of the 4 branches, and if we draft you, this is where you end up going. And so now they're saying, well, just do it automatically. You don't even have to worry about it. You just draft it. Okay. So from a business or an efficiency perspective, they're like, that saves us a lot of money, saves us a lot of time, and we've got the pool of candidates. And at the press conference at the White House yesterday, Carolyn Leavitt was asked about this rule change. And she said one of the standard things, which a lot of people have defended, in other areas, to say, well, the president her words were, the president is wisely not taking anything off the table, when it comes to our military readiness. And I understand that that's a message to the rest of the world that we've got, hundreds of millions of potential tens of millions of potential soldiers that we can just grab at any time and start training them. Okay. In this particular case, I think that the White House position is wrong. Because one, I feel that conscription in a draft is horrifically immoral. That no nation that says it's a free country, a free society, can allow for conscription. You can't allow that. That they're incompatible things. They're antagonistic things. And I think when Carolyn Leavitt, like for instance, when they would say, "Well, you're at least not going to drop nukes. We're not taking anything off the table." Okay, I get that. I don't like it, but I get it. I get it. In this case right here, it seems like they're still concerned with the messaging to our opponents and our enemies and our threats around the world. But that's also a message to the United States. It's also a message to the young men. It's also a message to Americans here that if things get bad enough, the government will simply say, we will take ownership of you. And if we feel like your best use for our nation is as a bullet catcher in the sand, then that's what we're going to do with you. I think that even though you've got a message to the rest of the world, and even though there is no likely scenario where a draft is ever going to be used again in my lifetime, at least, that it's still the right thing to do for the White House to say, of course, we're not going to do a draft. Matter of fact, let's get rid of selective service. Let's get rid of any possibility of conscription. The history in this country is when the war is just, when the threat is real, people have responded by enlisting. After 9/11, they were turning people away because so many people were trying to enlist.
So there's like 18 different layers there.
Right, yeah.
And I want to approach each one of them. The first one is, to me, the easy one. If you are going to have selective service, and if it is going to be required legally for all males over the age of 18 to register, transferring from a you have to affirmatively do it to it's just automatic, to me, is an efficiency move.
Oh, the efficiency argument makes sense.
And so if you have all those ifs in front of that, if that is the case, I don't have an issue with this rule change. But then you got to back it up. Okay, are we going to have selective service? Are we going to require young men to register? That's a whole different argument. And I think it's one that, totally bears scrutiny. I tend to agree with your arguments, your morality argument about it, your liberty argument about it, and I think that's a great conversation to have. And then there's the messaging argument, which is this White House notoriously will not take anything off the table, including biting your head off. So, I mean, this is part and parcel for everything that they do, but I understand. I mean, you could make the argument that, hey, there are some instances where it's okay to take something off the table, and this would probably be one of those things.
Yeah.
So, okay, there's 3 layers. But that's kind of where I come down on it. So, again, if we're going to assume for the time being that selective service is still a thing, I don't have an issue with making it an automated thing versus requiring you to jump through hoops and do all that sort of thing. But I do think
that also takes away your ability to protest and dissent.
Does it though?
Yeah, because I mean, if you don't register, you face the consequences, legal consequences for it. But if you're just automatically done, you're just automatically in there, as opposed to I'm not going in there, come get me.
Yeah, but I feel like the mechanism for challenging it would be the same. If you're a conscientious objector, if you're saying I'm not going to participate in this willingly, whether you
but
there might even be a stronger argument because you didn't choose to do it.
Well, yeah, because conscientious objector is only after they draft you.
Okay, that's maybe not the right term.
Right.
My point is, if you object to being included in it, there's maybe even a stronger argument. Like I didn't take any affirmative action to do this. I don't want to be a part of that. So from a practical standpoint, I don't know how your challenge would be any different. You're still going to be facing that issue.
Right.
Yeah, I would like to see physical education in high school replaced with like JRTC or something of that nature.
ROTC, yeah.
Yeah, just so that way there is some form of that military stylistic training going on at an earlier age. The draft, I think, is very much extremely unfavorable for many decades. I can't, it's just hard to believe that we still even have it as a system. Right. But when you look at what a lot of the younger generations are sharing online regarding the war, this conflict is extremely unpopular with people that are younger
that
than
might
I
be
am.
asked to go fight it.
Yeah, so
legitimately.
Now not only are you have a group of people that say we don't want anything to do with this, but now you're saying, by the way, you're also going to be automatically enrolled in a draft system, and also we're not drafting you to go fight this war off the table if that's what it takes to put some
Leverage
pressure.
somebody else, yeah.
And I can't imagine that's going to be of benefit to anybody that President Trump would endorse for presidency, or even the Republican Party in general.
Politically, that's a liability.
Yeah.
Right.
Now,
that's fair.
Remember, the draft was brought back by Jimmy Carter.
Was brought back?
Because there was always, we've been drafting people into service back to the first
I thought
days.
they did away with it in '73.
Well, the active draft was ended, but Jimmy Carter was in office in the 70s. What did he get rid of? I don't think he got rid of it because it was always there.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
I don't know.
We've been conscripting. I mean, we've conscripted at times to the beginning of our country.
For sure. So, but if they did, I'd have to look at the chronology there because, it was in the 70s. It was like after the Vietnam War where they kind of did away with the enforcing it.
I'm rereading the article
as opposed to you still had to register for it, but they're not like actively drafting people. But we haven't been in a large scale conflict since the mid 70s either.
Yeah.
I mean, the war in Afghanistan and Iraq was, pretty large scale. But
former President Jimmy Carter, I'm reading from The Hill, in 1980 reinstated the selective service in the event of a national emergency where the registry could be used to, quote, provide personnel to the Department of War and alternative service for conscientious objectors if authorized by the President and Congress.
So was there a period of time where there was no selective service then?
Or it was not active.
Okay.
Okay. So anyway, that's where that came from. I didn't mean to interrupt.
I don't know that I was interrupted. Yep. I feel like it's an important topic to discuss.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to do away with it, that's a congressional thing, correct?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. When are they going to get off their duffs and do that? Never.
Never. Yeah. See, and that's the thing is this is also one of those crucial. To me, the fact that it even exists is highly immoral and is discrediting to the entire federal government. That we say we are the land of the free, unless we decide we need you to go take an IED to the chest.
Right.
And then we'll just do it because freedom. Because freedom isn't free, and you don't get yours because we need it for somebody else.
Yep. I mean, draft everybody.
I nominate Mike to go testify in front of Congress about it.
Hell yes.
Now, public schools across the country are taking part in a day of LGBT activism. Will your child be drafted into that? Find out what's happening and what your rights are as a parent coming up here at 7:35.
To escape from the life I live when I am away. So let's go there. Let's make our escape.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
They had the Muslim ban. There is no white guy ban. So what do we do about that?
On NewsTalkSTL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Chance Koch with your first alert forecast. We're going to be tracking afternoon highs towards the lower 80s, mostly sunny skies, a warm day. Into Friday, some scattered showers throughout the day, off and on, a high of 71 degrees. Then a few storms scattered throughout the upcoming weekend. Still a decent amount of dry time temperatures, mid-70s Saturday, back towards the lower 80s into Sunday afternoon, and even warmer to start off early portions of next week. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Koch.
John Beal knows it right after a hailstorm. New roofing companies start popping up everywhere. But the Small Business Administration reports 96% of them go out of business within the first 5 years. So how good is that warranty? John Beal started in the roofing business, helping his granddad and his dad. Always offering the best roof, best price, best guarantee. John Beal Roofing, not some fly-by-the-night operation. Call my friend John, 1-800-NEW-ROOF, 1-800-NEW-ROOF.
Larry Connor's Commentary, brought to you by Vincent's Jewelers, offering a wide selection of jewelry, including lab-grown diamonds, affordable earrings, bracelets, necklaces, and rings, up to 75% off their natural counterparts. Visit VincentsJewelers.com. This is Larry Connor's Commentary on News Talk STL.
Hey, would you like to join me in a new venture? It could make a lot of money. Can't guarantee it will. Can it be fun? Yes, but also dangerous. Here's the idea. The Straits of Hormuz are open again. Well, at this very moment they are, or they're not. But if they're open, how about a cruise through the Hormuz? Just think of it. Right where oil tankers pass on their way to China, Russia, if the strait is open. And there's a possibility while cruising the Hormuz, we might see rockets overhead. Maybe close up, a sense of adventure, the excitement Are you interested in this cruise on the Hormuz? You need to book early, get premium accommodations. This is the adventure of a lifetime, the opportunity of a lifetime. What do we need? We just need all your credit card information, all your Social Security information, and we can book your trip. Book a trip for you, for a friend. Book a trip for an enemy. The Larry Connors USA cruising the Hormuz. Oh, and we also need a list of your next of kin.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
Columbo here for my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton. The knowledgeable staff at Bluff City has served the St. Louis outdoor community for decades, and they can take care of all your bow hunting needs, all your trapping needs, all your fishing needs, and more. Plus, while you're there, you can schedule a trip with a local fishing guide and shoot in their archery range. Bluff City Outdoors is open 7 days a week, 1 mile east of Fast Eddie's at 2813 East Broadway in Alton. Follow them on Facebook and at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
Hi, this is St. Louis County Councilman Mark Harder reminding you to check out my new show this weekend.
The St. Louis County Insider with Councilman Mark Harder.
That's me. Every Sunday evening at 5, we will explore with you behind-the-scenes stories and information that you won't hear anywhere else. Plus, we talk to decision makers and influencers that have impact on what's going on in St. Louis County and beyond.
The St. Louis County Insider with Councilman Mark Harder.
I'll talk to you Sunday night at 5, only on News Talk STL.
Dreaming about a vacation but not sure where to start? Should you book that all-inclusive resort or a cruise? Which destination? What cruise line? And how do you know you're getting the best value? That's where Magic Expeditions comes in. We're your St. Louis local travel experts, helping you choose the vacation that fits. Whether a relaxing adults-only escape, family-friendly resort, or unforgettable cruise adventure, skip the stress, the guessing, and endless online searching. Visit magicexpeditions.com. That's magicexpeditions.com.
So many ways to listen to News Talk STL.
Join the conversation. All you have to do is say,
Hey Alexa, play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
The Mike Ferguson Show is one of my favorite programs. In addition to Larry Connors USA, catch my program at 6. Now, back to Mike.
All right, did you know that tomorrow's another LGBT activism day, apparently?
Did not.
I didn't either.
I didn't get the memo.
I got a note from our friends at the Thomas More Society, who's they're kind of all over these types of things. But apparently this one is based in public schools, no surprise there. But is your kid's school taking part? Because they may not tell you. And specifically, Thomas More Society has been watching like a hawk, the Kirkwood schools in particular. But I got a feeling that this is the kind of thing that's going to apply to every school out there, because this is a nationwide thing. We're now joined by Mary Catherine Martin from the Thomas More Society. So, Mary Catherine, first of all, hey, good to have you back here. Second thing is, what is it that tomorrow is going to be kind of that coordinated, I guess, activism, day of awareness things, because we know the LGBT community doesn't have enough of those throughout the entire year. But what is it that tomorrow that the school, many schools across the country are looking to do?
Well, thanks for having me, first of all. And tomorrow is, I'm sorry to tell you, the 30th annual National Day of Silence. In fact, on the web, it is sometimes referred to as the World Day of Silence. And it is a day on which students are invited to show their support for LGBTQ plus causes by remaining silent throughout the school day as a silent protest. Now, that's one thing. Kirkwood, I'm sorry to say, as usual, tends to up the ante, and so we're not sure how much of school cooperation is involved in other districts, but Kirkwood is once again making an example of itself in support for endorsement of facilitation of adoption of these causes. And so in Kirkwood, in the past, teachers have participated. And this year, to the extent that we have had notice that it's coming, we know that they are coordinating the students' activities, and they are encouraging students not only to remain silent between classes, for instance, but to the extent possible during classes in at least one Kirkwood school. That's happening.
Yeah. So basically, just to clarify, because I know Sue's got a question, we're talking about the school not only endorsing it, but the school, I guess, coordinating and the school promoting it from the top-down authority of a school onto the students.
Absolutely. In at least one building in Kirkwood, we have that. And in other buildings in Kirkwood, we know it's going to take place, and no notice has happened. So we don't actually know the level of school coordination. I mean, the lack of notice here is one of the legal defects involved in a protest like this.
Good morning, Mary Catherine. I don't mean to be flip about this, but it occurs to me that expecting students to be silent might be something that some school administrators and teachers would actually prefer. But how do teachers teach classes if they're observing this day of silence?
Well, what we understand now is that at least now that once we've spoken up, the teachers in Kirkwood at least will not be participating. I have no idea how logistically they work out a teacher's participation. This year, though, we know, for instance, that students at North Kirkwood Middle School are meant to go get a sticker to show their support, and that sticker is distributed by the librarian in the morning. So this is not a student-led, solely student-led protest.
Yeah, I remember when I was in high school in the 80s, there was a day of silence and it was like Mothers Against Drunk Driving. And, some students were supposed to dress in all black and then not say anything to anybody. And the idea was, what if your friend was, killed? And so, I don't think that's particularly controversial, but obviously this is a whole different thing here. Now, when I was reading your
let me say something quickly about that. So what's important about this is that this particular kind of activism has been recognized by the Supreme Court to offend the rights of many parents, particularly religious parents, but all parents. Actually, we recently, since I spoke to you last, we have had a new case in the Supreme Court that made clear that all parents, have always had a right to direct the upbringing of their children that extends into the school day. And so, while protests on the subject of drunk driving are unlikely to offend a lot of parents, where a protest is, the school knows that the protest or any activity, any instruction or material, but where a protest is endorsed by the school, then that's instruction or material, right? Where that's going to happen, they have an obligation to let parents know in advance and give parents an opportunity to opt their child out.
Yeah, see,
the issue is the topic. It's not, and any topic that would be offensive to religious or really any parent.
Yeah, and see, that's what I was reading into the statement that you all put out yesterday, is that you're not taking issue with somebody's right to shut up and to make a point or to protest. You were really careful in writing that. This is about the pressure from the school, and also what you just mentioned. That's what I wanted to follow up on, is many parents may be watching or listening to us right now, not realizing their school's going to be pressuring their kid on this, and that it's a school endorsement, therefore it's a government endorsement of, you better be part of this ally LGBT stuff. So there are probably parents in the Kirkwood schools and maybe all over the metro area who do not realize that their schools are going to be doing this, and they may not find out until after their kid has been pressured to be part of political activism and cultural activism.
Absolutely. And those parents have a right to opt out, and that opt out is not triggered on them getting official notice from the school or having some kind of official form. Any parent can let their public school know of material and instruction that will offend their beliefs, and it doesn't even have to be specific material and instruction. It can just be, hey, things on this topic or that topic, they offend us. Let us know in advance. But when you know something's coming up like this, you have the opportunity to opt out. You can submit any kind of opt-out. It can be anything you write up yourself. Thomas More Society has prepared a pretty substantial one that cites all the relevant legal citations, and that's at thomasmoresociety.org/opt-out for any parent in America that wants to opt their child out of this particular protest. But what your rights are is that the school, first of all, is supposed to give you notice, but whether or not they give you notice, the school has the obligation to, if you opt out, to give you an opportunity to opt out and to honor that by giving your child suitable alternative instruction for the entire length of whatever is the offensive material or instruction. And again, that's not just this protest. Let me say one more thing about this protest, though. What makes this protest clearly within the ambit of this parent's right is that it not just that it's silence, not just that it's school endorsed, but that inviting everyone in the school to silence in support of LGBTQ plus causes, thereby, it transforms normal student behavior from other students into the impression of discrimination or some kind of opposition to these causes. Right? There's no way to remain in the building where everyone has been invited to be silent in favor of one cause and not have your normal behavior imputed to you as taking a position. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Particularly coercive. This particular approach is particularly coercive. Thomas More Society is a First Amendment firm. We are all for speech and demonstrations and freedom, of students to protest. But this is a coercive event, right? Whether or not you know about it in advance, whether or not your school is endorsing it or participating themselves, if they're hosting it, your child is undergoing illegal pressure.
No, I mean, that is a very, very good point. So it's like the opposite of silence is violence. It's non-silence is violence. And there's no good way for our student or parents whose kids don't wish to participate in it to not participate without it becoming a thing. And that was going to be my question. You kind of answered this. But if the whole school is participating, how does a kid who isn't going to participate, I mean, that's taking away from their education. Mm-hmm. That's taking away from the time that they are supposed to be getting classroom time, teacher time. So what are the mechanisms by which parents can ensure that their child is actually being educated as they are entitled to be and not interfered with by this activism?
Absolutely. Well, the law clearly requires reasonable alternative instruction. What's not clear yet is, one of the many issues remaining to be litigated here is what constitutes reasonable alternative instruction. Thomas More Society has taken the position that in-person instruction, right, at the school, no such, reasonable alternative instruction requires more than just an excused absence. Please feel free to stay home, that day, right? Parents expect and deserve and have a right to actual instruction for their children. So, we've taken a position with the parents who have submitted opt-outs in this situation. They should demand from their school, a place for their child to be at school with actual instruction. Now, a lot of these things are done virtually now, but actual instruction in each of their subjects, away from the protest and the implications of the protest.
Yeah, and if you just say, well, we'll give you some work, you can do your work and over here, then you're basically got them in detention for not being part of the activist group otherwise.
Well, and that's the difficulty. I mean, where a school provides that as an alternative in other situations that we all accept as suitable, like substitute teaching situations where someone comes in and monitors while they do their work themselves. If it meets that standard in other areas, it's probably going to meet the standard here. But the fact is that that is costly still. For a school to provide a lesson plan remotely for a child or for each child, children on each different schedule, right, is costly. And that's one of the things we're trying to drive home to parents here is we have these rights, but the schools do not have to honor them unless we invoke them, right? And what we want to do here, one of the things that opt-outs do is put a price on them deciding to have this kind of activism during school. Right. So when parents opt their child out, that creates a burden on the school. And they've taken that on themselves when they decided not to just teach this day. Right. But instead to turn it into activism. And we want to make that as costly as possible because the fact is, yes, I'm a litigator, but you cannot take every school district to court. And you don't want to. Right. What you want is for them to realize that parents don't want this and to stop doing it. Right. And if they're not going to do that from just complaints, which we see clearly from most of our school districts and the well-meaning parents who are activists all the time and ignored, right, then we have the opportunity here to make it costly for them in a way that they will feel. Right. And so we encourage parents to opt out because of the actual cost this is causing us. It should be pushed back onto the school district.
All right. We're visiting Mary Catherine Martin. Just got a minute or so left. One of the comments that just came in on social media from the handle Draxian said, I just found out that it's Ally Appreciation Month. Who the hell asked for that? They tried pushing this allyship on my children in middle school. It's to show that you are an ally to the LGBT plus community. That was in the Rockwood School District, a blue ribbon school, ? On that. And so, obviously, you're looking at do a lot of work, trying to keep Kirkwood in line as an example to the others. What do parents need to know? I mean, there's the opt out, But if they're not telling the parents, should the parents right now be contacting the school to say, hey, is anything happening on this? What's the right way to do that?
Absolutely. Well, you can submit an opt-out whether you know it's happening or not. Submit an opt-out. If you're doing the day of silence, get my kid in another room with suitable alternative instruction designed for his classes. And then if your school doesn't follow that opt-out, you give us a call. Now, I say that this is the kind of thing that you do to build up to litigation, right? This is how a good court case gets made. These things don't get resolved. They get resolved first, hopefully with letters and with making clear your rights and asserting your rights. And we're happy to help you assert your rights. And unfortunately, it's going to take some time for the law to catch up, for these standards to get built. But what we need is parents to assert these rights so that we can then hold school districts accountable on the other end. So submit an opt-out. I encourage you. It's Thomas More Society with 10 more as 10 like more potatoes. .org/opt-out.
All right. That was what I was going to ask is the website there. Mary Catherine, appreciate it. And keep me updated on what's happening in Kirkwood because eventually that's going to trickle out to other districts as well.
Look, we're interested in hearing from parents in any school district. It's not our fault that Kirkwood keeps raising his hand. So.
Yeah, precisely. Thanks, Mary Catherine.
Thanks, Mary Catherine.
All right, take care.
Hey, today's Thursday, so that means tomorrow's Friday, which means it's time for you to send in your bump music requests. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What'd you say? Yesterday was bump day.
Yeah.
Today is in between bump day and Friday.
It's bump eve.
It's Friday Eve.
No, sorry, Eve. I didn't mean to. Sorry, never mind.
Whatever it is, you want to send in your bump music requests to Jerome. And remember this week's theme, songs that will annoy Mike Ferguson. Send them to Jerome at NewsTalkSTL.com.
All right, I was at my friends over at Nutrition Stop just a little bit ago, just a couple days ago, restocking on some things, and they mentioned that the Bring a Friend Saturday happening again this Saturday. Matter of fact, it's going to happen all through April. Weather's going to be a little bit better. They had a really good time with that, and this coming Saturday, they've got actually some of the vendors, local vendors, who are making some really healthy food. It's actually like a really healthy granola bar type of food. I got the cranberry almond butter one. Absolutely delicious, but check them out pretty much all day Saturday when they're open. It is the Bring a Friend Saturday. So here's what happens. You bring a friend who's not been there before. Just tell them saying, hey, heard about Bring a Friend Saturday? Here's my friend. Mike was talking about it on the radio. You get 20% off your supplements and your body care products. And by the way, the body care products is a bigger thing than what people realize. I mean, a lot of people are getting better about putting real, natural, healthy foods inside your body, but also think about the stuff that you're putting on your body. We're talking everything from toothpaste and soap and the cleaning things. All of that gets into your system as well, and you can have a healthier lifestyle from the outside in as well as the inside out, and that's where Nutrition Stop knows what they're talking about, and they have helped me get so much better when it comes to my health. So check them out, nutritionstop.com, right there on Mexico Road in St. Peter's, right off of Cave Springs and I-70. Go visit them, especially Saturday. Say, hey, it's Bring a Friend Saturday. Bring a friend. Get your 20% discount on those supplements and body care products, and tell them I said hi, because I got a baseball game Saturday, so I won't be able to be there. But go check them out and tell them I said hi and get your discount.
Your workout tomorrow starts tonight. Your focus at work starts tonight. Your patience with your family starts tonight. Sleep isn't the end of your day, it's the beginning of your life. At Snooze Mattress and Wellness, we're locally owned and family owned, and we use advanced technology to help you find a mattress designed for deep, restorative sleep. Because this isn't about furniture, it's about waking up renewed. Snooze Mattress and Wellness in Chesterfield. Sleep restored, life renewed.
Hey there, your financial friend here, Chris Cooper, Serenity Wealth, and I've got a very special show coming up this weekend. We're going to turn the page on tax planning away from 25 and into 2026, and we're going to kick that off with a special topic about taxation right here in the state of Missouri. Joining us in the studio, we've got Elias with the Show Me Institute. We're going to talk about Missouri becoming on the path to being a tax-free state. So tune in right here, News Talk STL, Sunday morning, 9 a.m.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC. 1949, the last time a Republican held the top post in St. Louis City. A gallon of milk was 84 cents and streetcars ran down Grand Avenue. Unfortunately, St. Louis City streets are no longer the epicenter of family and business life. In the 80 years of Democrat control, our city has been on a steady decline.
Hello, Kirk Ilsinger, chairman of the Republican Party for the city of St. Louis, and we believe it is our duty to provide a different path forward. I invite you to our meetings the first Thursday of every month. Learn more at stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
Hi, it's Randy Tobler here. Pour a big cup of coffee and catch my show every Saturday morning from 6 to 9. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning here on News Talk STL.
Lawrence O'Donnell tried to have some thoughts.
Tried being the operative word there.
He got lost in them. We'll get to that in just a minute here. 7:53 right now. I want to follow up real quick on that conversation with Mary Catherine Martin. And by the way, that's one of those that's going to be up on our podcast here in a couple hours or so. That's the one. If you know somebody who's got school-age children
kids,
or grandchildren, that's the one you need to send to them, because you can go to newstalkstl.com, or better yet, just subscribe to the podcast. You'll get the alert when that's posted. Literally 2 clicks, and you can just, 1 or 2 clicks, and you can just send that to anybody you want. Because the thing that I think is the most insidious about this, I mean, you can get into the, are you pro or anti-LGBT, whatever, it's that the schools pressure the kids and don't tell the parents. That is the definition of indoctrination. That is a prime example of indoctrination. And somebody, I missed who it was, and I apologize, on social media, and said, well, what if somebody suggested having a awareness day for straight sex, or straight relationships or traditional marriage? Well, they're not going to do that, of course.
Cisgender day.
Right. Would that be something that we would object to? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, first of all, public schools.
It's school.
Public schools stay out of sex. It's creepy.
Yes.
There's that biology part that I get, but stay out of dating and sex. Okay? Why is this hard? Because that is such a key part of leftist activism, is based on who does what with who. And that sort of thing. So this, to me, the really the most insidious part is not alerting parents. So every parent, and you got a kid in public school, you should probably call the school saying, I hear there's a big day of activism tomorrow. Are you participating in it? What's going to be around my kid?
Mm-hmm.
And that may be worth the phone call.
It might be.
And, some schools may say, well, some kids may do something. We don't have any school activities on it. Well, okay. Then, you know what? If your kid's around other kids who are doing LGBT activism, then that's just the marketplace of ideas. We're talking about the school promoting it and coordinating it. Mary Catherine said that the librarian handing out so the school is pushing it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you need to check that out. And if they're saying, well, yes, we participate, there's nothing. Okay, you can fight the fight with Thomas More Society on your side, or you can just say, you know what, kid, stay home today. We're not going to let the school do it.
And you get the nasty grams about your kid missing too much school.
Let them.
I know. I'm saying. Yep. Then for your trouble, that's what you get in return.
Yep. Okay, so let's have a little fun. By the way, the schools don't complain when their kids go to Jeff City to campaign for gun control laws and stuff. But
of course not.
Lawrence O'Donnell, remember him?
Oh yeah.
He still has his cable access show.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's MS Now. That's what they call it. But I honest to God forgot that he had a show. I forgot. I hadn't heard his name.
About him.
I'd forgotten about him completely. So he's talking about, as pundits will do, the war in Iran. And then he was also talking about Donald Trump's, infamous social media tweet about, a civilization will die. But then he gets to the part about the rescue of the U.S. airmen after the plane had been shot down.
Mm-hmm.
And
airmen? Did you say airmen?
I did say airmen. And he would be upset with that, even though it actually, in fact, was a man. And so the funny part is Lawrence O'Donnell, when you watch him, he looks at the screen and he has this "I am so important" look on his face.
Yes. Very serious, man.
And he's so dramatic. And he found something to be offended by in the story of the rescue of the U.S. airmen. Here's what he was offended by.
That brilliant rescue was described by the Secretary of Defense and by General Dan Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, as a long-standing American military rule of never leaving anyone behind.
Okay, this is going to get dramatic. Okay,
we leave no man behind.
That is, of course, the old school version of the idea back when only men flew American military planes. General Dan Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, put it this way.
We leave no one behind.
The general knows, unlike Pete Hegseth, that could have been a woman they were trying to rescue, and it might be a woman the next time.
But it wasn't a woman this time.
Oh, Lawrence. Get over yourself.
I guess you got to find something to complain about.
Get over your dramatic self.
Jamie Allman here, tossing and turning over retirement worries. You're not alone. 3 out of 4 Americans share your concern about having enough saved. But here's the thing. A comfortable retirement isn't out of reach, even if you're planning for 30 or 40 years ahead. Every day, Jeff Portman from the Gemini Wealth Group helps people avoid the critical mistakes that can derail their retirement. Build your path to financial confidence. Visit GeminiWealthGroup.com or call Jeff directly at 314-888-0123.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA, SIPC.
Now, the Free Market Minute, brought to you by the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University.
Hey, it's Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show. I am here with Dr. Grant Black. And Grant, entrepreneurship, it's one of those buzzwords we hear a lot about, but is entrepreneurship really important to the economy?
It definitely is. Entrepreneurship is a consistent contributor to economic growth. It creates new products and services that people value. It creates the new businesses that provide them. It fosters innovation that improves productivity, and it increases beneficial competition. It generates jobs, income, wealth mobility, and even tax revenues that all support and enhance communities. Entrepreneurship matters, so we need to help it thrive in all our communities.
The John W. Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University fosters and examines market-oriented approaches to economic and social issues. To learn more, visit hammondinstitute.org.
Hi, it's Ken Williams, and my favorite Capriati sandwich is the Capastrami. You've got hot pastrami, melty Swiss cheese, crunchy coleslaw, and zesty Russian dressing. What else do you need? I love Capriati's, and you will too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefontaine, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Honor the 2-week ceasefire and ultimately a long-term agreement. This as Iran again interferes with shipping in the Strait of Hormuz, accusing Israel of breaching the ceasefire by bombing Hezbollah targets in Lebanon.
Semi-official news agencies in Iran have published a chart suggesting the country's paramilitary Revolutionary Guard has put sea mines into the Strait of Hormuz during the war, a likely pressure tactic as Iran, Israel and the US are now in an uneasy 2-week ceasefire ahead of possible negotiations in Islamabad. Meanwhile, in unusually strong language, UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has condemned Israeli strikes in Lebanon that killed and injured hundreds on Wednesday. Israel says the ceasefire agreement does not extend to its war in Lebanon with the Iran-backed Hezbollah militant group. I'm Charles Dillathesma.
An American man being held by Bahamian authorities.
Police in the Bahamas have arrested a man for the disappearance of his wife, who vanished while on an 8-foot motorboat in the Bahamas. Officials say 55-year-old Lynette Hooker and her husband Brian Hooker were traveling from Hopetown to Elbow Cay Saturday, when, according to the husband, his wife fell overboard with the boat's keys, causing the engine to turn off. Police say strong currents carried the woman away. Lynette Hooker's daughter, Carly Aylesworth, tells NBC News her mom was an experienced sailor and that it's unlikely she would just fall off the boat. She also says the couple had a history of not getting along, especially when drinking. I'm Donna Warder.
A Hawaii doctor accused of trying to kill his wife on a cliffside hike has been convicted of attempted manslaughter. 47-year-old Gerhard Koenig's attorney says there will be an appeal. Stock futures modestly lower on Wall Street. More on these stories, townhall.com.
The following is a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I had a lot of credit card debt, and it stressed me out. But what I thought was a solution turned out to be a problem. I kept hearing ads about debt settlement that seemed too good to be true. And actually, it was. When I called, they told me to stop paying my bills. That didn't sound right to me at all, so I hung up. Later, I found out that debt settlement is bad, real bad. Then I learned that there is a right way to pay off your credit cards. It's called a debt management program from the great team at Trinity. Trinity had a plan. In the end, I paid off my bills, I saved thousands, and I even improved my credit score.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is Heather. Please forget debt settlement and remember Trinity Debt Management.
1-800-990-6976.
Hoping to reduce its reliance on American natural gas, Mexico is looking into embracing fracking technology.
Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Chance Koch with your first alert forecast. We're going to be tracking afternoon highs towards the lower 80s, mostly sunny skies, a warm day into Friday, some scattered showers throughout the day off and on, a high of 71 degrees. Then a few storms scattered throughout the upcoming weekend. Still a decent amount of dry time, temperatures mid-70s Saturday, back towards the lower 80s into Sunday afternoon, and even warmer to start off early portions of next week. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Koch.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, when pests invade your home, you need someone you can trust. It's Jamie Allman here, and at Buckingham Pest Control, they're not just your exterminators, they're your neighbors and friends. A locally owned family business and St. Louis Magazine A-List award winner, providing affordable, quality pest control. Plus, they offer energy-efficient TAP attic insulation, the only insulation that controls pests. BuckinghamPestControl.com. That's BuckinghamPestControl.com.
If you love your pet, which I know you do, then they deserve the excellent treatment and care they'll receive at Pacific Animal Hospital in Pacific, Missouri, a full-service veterinarian facility. Originally built and grown by my dad, Dr. Bill Jones, a new generation of wonderful veterinarians and staff at Pacific continue to provide outstanding medical, surgical, dental, boarding, and grooming services for your favorite furry friends. Our family entrusts the care of our pets only to the experienced docs and staff at Pacific Animal Hospital. You should too. Call them today, 636-257-2100, 24/7 at PacificVets.com, PacificVets.com.
Mike Ferguson.
Shut this sucker down.
Susie Moore.
I disagree on his assessment of the situation.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm? Get up, St. Louis.
You're not supposed to lie, but you're definitely not supposed to lie when you're under oath.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Okay, so if you're one of those who likes to gamble at the slots at the gas station or the slot machine at the bar, well, you're about to be disappointed. And in an unrelated note, you should probably reevaluate some of your life choices and habits, but that's another discussion out there as well.
But putting my money in the machine it brings me so much joy, Mike.
Until the money doesn't come back on that. So a big change, and a big change was announced on that, and it has to do with a St. Louis area-based company here as well. And then, of course, we had the news earlier this week that the Wentzville School District had to come to an agreement with the Attorney General's office and promise to actually, loop parents in on some of the stuff that's happening in their schools. So we got a lot going on right now. I'm Mike Ferguson. We're now joined by Missouri Attorney General Catherine Hanaway. And Catherine, great to chat with you again. Thanks so much for being on. I want to start because it's brand new. This announcement in the agreement regarding the Torch Electronics. I guess I haven't been to these gas stations. I know they're out there where you've got the slot machines and the other gambling machines. And the makers of this say, well, this is a gray market. This is a gray area. It's not the same thing that's legal in the casinos. And you and the federal prosecutors are saying no, and they've now backed down. What's the update and what's the end result of this change in this agreement that's been made?
Well, Mike, thanks so much for having me on. I'm glad to be here. And I'm glad we've reached an agreement with the company. So the U.S. Attorney here, Tom Albus, the one in Kansas City, Matt Price, have really led on this issue, as have our local prosecutors. Joe McCullough and Melissa Price-Smith have been just excellent partners. as we've tried to address this issue of illegal gaming going on all over the state. We estimate that Torch Electronics has approximately 16,000 machines, and as of tomorrow, they will be suspending operations. And look, the reason I thought it was so important to do this is it is illegal. The courts have said it's illegal. The Missouri Gaming Commission has said it's illegal. It isn't taxed in the same way that gaming is on riverboats or even the lottery. It's completely outside the legal system, and that creates a whole lot of problems with a cash business that's as big as this one. And so I'm very pleased that Torch is voluntarily shutting down. There are other purveyors of these machines. They're next on our list.
Yeah, and so with these, is it a matter of they're just operating outside the licensure and the tax structure, or is there any issue with, I guess, maybe, fraud or cheating or something with the actual machines and the gaming and the gambling itself?
So we don't have any evidence of that.
Okay.
But here's what I will also tell you is we really don't know what happens to that first dollar in. We have some representations that have been made by the company, and we're investigating that, and that's part of the ongoing investigation. And as I said, they aren't the only purveyor, and they are the biggest. They've had the most scrutiny. I think we're going to find more when we get into some of these smaller operators. But the important part is this is the kind of activity when it's an industry that's sort of thumbing its nose at law enforcement, that's an all-cash business, that if it isn't the locus of, other criminal activity, it certainly has, tilled the soil and fertilized it, and bad players are, just if they haven't come in yet, they're coming.
Okay, and I'm hearing from you that the investigation isn't over, but at this point, is the criminal prosecution essentially suspended, along with them suspending operations at this point, even if you're still looking into things?
Yeah, absolutely. And a big part of sort of reaching final agreement with them is their cooperation and helping us understand how this business really works, who the other players are, et cetera.
All right. And then just one more quick quick question on this, because I want to get to some of these other things, including this Wentzville situation. And that is one of the statements you made, which kind of struck with me, you said there is no such thing as a gray market. And I think that's what a lot of media and some of their representatives have said, like, well, it's a gray market. The law is unclear on some things. And you're saying, no, it's either legal or it's illegal. Kind of I guess, myth bust, the idea of the gray market.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's just a matter of interpreting the law. I argued all the time when I was a teenager to my parents that it was a gray market on whether, 19-year-olds could drink beer. Turned out 21 was the legal age. So it's a similar thing. They think they found a loophole, and until law enforcement stepped up and enforced the law, they were able to go out and argue this to all the places that they put these machines. But it's very clear there's only been a handful of places that have interpreted it, a court in Platte County, the court here in the federal court here in the Eastern District of Missouri, and the Gaming Commission, and all three of them have said it's illegal.
All right, we're visiting with Missouri Attorney General Catherine Hanaway. Earlier, just a day or couple days ago, we got word from the agreement you made with the Wentzville Public School District, and this is one I think that just resonates with a lot of people regarding the entire gender dysphoria and that whole thing. But it wasn't necessarily just about the ideology, which you did address, but also the school district was basically hiding the discussions on essentially how to support these kids with the dysphoria, with the gender illnesses, basically doing this behind closed doors. And the school district still refuses to admit that they did anything wrong under the agreement, but they are admitting that they have to follow the law from this point forward. And they're going to be required to, I guess, have certain people in specific training to adhere to the law. So what is it that's going to be the end result of this agreement with the Wentzville School District? And is this a message that can resonate out to other public schools?
Yeah, Mike, you explained it beautifully. There are two major issues here. One, what's going on in our schools with respect to all the transgender agenda, and two, should those discussions of it by school boards be open and transparent to parents? And it really isn't just on that issue, but on so many issues. We had a problem kind of intensified from quote COVID forward, where school boards were doing too many things behind closed doors. Parents weren't able to have visibility into it. The important part to us is that they never do this again. And the message other school boards should get is that, closed sessions are for very limited issues, usually related to personnel and real estate transactions where they're trying to buy a piece of real estate and they don't want to get that word out and have the price jacked up on them. A few limited exceptions like that, but certainly any broad policy that's going to impact students and parents needs to be discussed in the open so the parents have the opportunity to be aware and to comment.
Yeah, because this was regarding, what to do with bathrooms and locker rooms and all of that sort of thing and allowing the boys and the girls stuff. And so this wasn't a matter of personnel. This was a matter of what is the actual, and public schools are governments. What was going to be the government policy in the school on this? And that's, I think, the important aspect of this.
Yeah, it's just so offensive what they did. And, frankly, what they were considering doing, and then the fact that they did it behind closed doors. And I'm just glad that we've got them to agree it's never going to happen again. And, frankly, it should send a very strong message out to any other school board not to do this. It's kind of the old rule of law enforcement. If you're the first one in, you kind of get the best deal. Mm-hmm. But any school district that comes after this is going to be on notice, and I doubt they're going to be able to walk away without having to admit wrongdoing.
Yeah, and
if they engage in this behavior.
Yeah, because the legislature's been pretty clear on what they think of the ideology that's being pushed in so many of these schools, and it really is kind of the public us versus so much of this left-wing public education establishment. So, Catherine, I have a feeling this is probably not the last time you're going to deal with something like this in a public school in Missouri.
No, sadly, I think you're right, and just even looking at this lawsuit we have against Misha for discriminating against white men in the board membership, I was really pleased that the Department of Justice joined us last week as we try to rectify that situation. The Missouri State High School Athletic Association has set aside 2 of their board seats exclusively for women and minorities. That's discrimination, clearly. I think we're going to win that lawsuit. But it's the same kind of public schools driving agendas. The people who are on that board are all public school officials. It's sad. It's sad that there's been such a chasm created between what parents want and parents' right to know and what school leadership is doing.
All right, and we just got a minute or so left here. We're visiting with the Missouri Attorney General Catherine Hanaway, and I'm going to admit, because I'm not a marijuana aficionado. It's just not my thing. I'm not really sure what the difference is with like the kratom versus what's in the dispensaries and all that sort of thing. But you're making some progress in dealing with these products that you can buy at apparently gas stations and different retail shops and things like that. One of the manufacturers, my understanding is they are pulling back based on the investigation and based on the legalities of it. What is it that's different about this product that you're targeting with the kratom and some of the other terminology that I'm not really up on?
Mike, thanks so much for asking about it. And your listeners really do need to know. Kratom is, in fact, a plant, but it is being distilled down into this product called 7-OH that is killing people. And you can buy it over the counter now in these kratom CBD places and others. And please, please, please avoid it. It's being marketed as natural and helping people get over opioid addictions. And it is natural, quote unquote, but a lot of science and chemistry applied to it to turn it into 7-OH, quite simply, is a synthetic opioid that is highly addictive. The FDA says it suppresses heart rate and breathing 3 times as much as morphine. It's super dangerous, super addictive. Stay away from it.
Okay, so if I see one of those kratom stores, is that different than a dispensary from a legal perspective?
Yeah, it is.
Oh.
They do not have to have a license, so the kratom CBD stores can just open up without having to go through the licensing process at all.
Okay, all right. And of course, so we can keep up with this because you're churning out some new result here pretty often here. Is the best way just to keep track of the website or social media? What's the best way, Catherine?
Yeah, social media, it's AG Hanaway on all the big platforms. And then our website's ago.mo.gov. So both are good places.
All right. Good talk to you again, Catherine. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Mike.
All right. It is 8:17 right now. Don't forget, Friday coming up tomorrow, 80s bump music request. So get your bump music in. The theme that's been set is what are the rockin' songs I would love the most?
Wait. That's not the theme, Mike. You're not wheezing out of this one.
All right.
This week's theme is your favorite 80 songs to annoy Mike Ferguson with. And I'm looking forward to it. I've already seen quite a few amazing requests.
Am I going to be annoyed?
I sure hope so. So we will find out tomorrow on Flashback Friday, but there are still a few slots left. So get your submissions in for the most annoying 80 songs that you can think of to Jerome at NewsTalkSTL.com.
You know, I don't know what the real estate market is going to be doing in the coming weeks and months and all of that sort of thing. You've got interest rates and you've got supply and demand and all that. But I do know that you can invest in your home and not just make it more valuable by adding that deck and adding that fence, but you can also make it more of a home and turn your home into that retreat and that safer place for you and your family and your pets to enjoy. And when you do that, you got to talk to my friends at STL FenceWorks. STLFenceWorks.com, A+ BBB rated. They have been serving St. Louis for over 50 years. And there's a reason that they are doing so well is because they do things right. And there's some differences. First of all, they only use American-made materials, and that is a real advantage. First of all, not just because of pricing, because they're avoiding all the tariffs by using American-made stuff, but it also means that they can get your project done faster because there are fewer supply chain issues as well, and it also supports American manufacturing, of course. Now, listen, they can transform your backyard. Yes, they can do that deck, and they do an amazing job, but they will do a custom fence, and listen, the materials that they use, it's not going to rot away. It's guaranteed. They're going to use vinyl or ornamental or privacy or decorative sort of fencing out there, custom decks, and they are expert craftsmen. They're not just hiring anybody off the street to be a subcontractor here. They're going to do it. They're going to do it right. Matter of fact, you can get kind of a virtual ballpark quote. Just go to STLFenceWorks.com and you can get an AI kind of just type in where you are and what you want, and you'll get a picture. You won't even have to worry about talking to somebody right away. But check that out, and STL FenceWorks is your hookup to make your house and your home and your property even more of that luxurious resort, no matter what part of St. Louis you live in. STLFenceWorks.com.
Hey, Tony Colombo here with Tim Jones for our friends Rodney and Jen Wallner, the Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway, the #1 home selling team in the St. Louis area, and I can say that from firsthand experience. My wife and I were blown away from the results that we saw from working with Rodney and Jen, from selling our old home faster and for more money than we thought possible to finding our family's perfect new home. They over-delivered every step of the way, and right now it's still very much a seller's market. So, Tim, for folks that have been thinking about selling their home, it's a perfect time to call the Wallners.
That's right, Tony. And don't forget, they're licensed in both Missouri and Illinois, so no matter where you are in the metro area, you can put St. Louis's #1 home selling team to work for you. The Wallners' experience and work ethic, second to none. And of course, the numbers speak for themselves. The Wallners sell 15 times more homes per year than the typical realtor. Right now, they're working with so many qualified buyers, they'll guarantee to obtain you an offer. If you've been thinking about selling your home, don't wait. Call the Wallners now at 314-810-SOLD. That's 314-810-SOLD for the Wallner home selling team.
State Freedom Caucus Unfiltered, Sunday nights at 7 on News Talk STL. Hear all the behind-the-scenes stories about what the State Freedom Caucus is doing across the country, directly from the legislators and the people that are doing it. State Freedom Caucus Unfiltered, this Sunday night at 7 with your host, Tim Jones. State Freedom Caucus Unfiltered, now Sunday nights at 7 on News Talk STL.
Hey, thank you very much for taking my call.
News, analysis, opinion.
Yes, I just want you to know what a breath of fresh air you people are.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Good morning, St. Louis. Hey, it's Vince from The Vince Show right here on News Talk STL every weeknight at 8. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
All right, the ceasefire is at least a little more ceasefiery now.
A little bit more?
Little more ceasefiery, a little less fiery, a little more ceasefiery.
A little more cease, a little less fire?
That's right. There's got to be a song, kind of like the old Elvis Presley song, little less conversation, a little more action, a little more cease, a little less fire, something like that.
We didn't cease the fire.
All right, and the city's biggest Cinco de Mayo party not happening this year. That's got a lot of people bummed out. And the Cardinals, man, they're still off to a pretty good start here. I think they're surprising a few people. 8:22 right now. Let's do one more news dump here today.
The Morning News Dump, brought to you by the Nutrition Stop.
The Morning News Dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks, the Morning News Dump.
Okay, Vice President J.D. Vance speaking outside of Air Force 2 right before he came back to Washington from Hungary, speaking to reporters about the 2-week ceasefire agreement between the U.S. and Iran, which has been, shall we say, fragile at best.
The United States has certain demands and certain things that we want. The Iranians have things they can get out of the negotiation. The more that they're willing to give us, I think the more they're going to get things out of this negotiation. The president's talked about sanctions relief.
Okay, and at this point, it looks like the ceasefire is actually settling into place. Now, what's at issue is that Iran is still wanting to negotiate terms and authority for closing down the Strait of Hormuz versus opening it up. Newsmax was reporting a little bit ago that the Trump administration is basically saying, no, open it up. Yeah. And Iran wants to keep clamps on who can get through and charge $2 million a ship and all that kind of stuff.
Well, essentially what it looks like is that Iran is maintaining that Israel needs to stop bombing Lebanon if they want the strait to be reopened. Israel said, we never agreed to that. We agreed to stop bombing you, but not Lebanon. And the United States is saying, well, now if this is going to be closed, we're not going to honor not bombing you anymore.
Because the whole point of this was to allow some economic activity to get through there, because that affects essentially Europe and the U.S. by extension.
So now they're going to continue to allow, well, from what I've gathered so far, is that quote unquote enemy ships no longer allowed to pass through.
Right.
Neutral ships, $2 million tax, and then of course China gets all their stuff for free.
Right. So that is not opening the Strait of Hormuz. No. So we'll see if the Trump administration tolerates that. Then why are you negotiating? If you've won, then just demand a surrender and impose the rules. But if it's negotiation, then what are we doing?
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with it. Young men, we had a lot of people commenting on this a little bit earlier. Young men could be registered for the draft automatically under a rule change that's being reviewed right now. So Military Times, The Hill, I saw a story on Channel 2 today about this. Those are among those reporting that the Selective Service System is requesting the rule change that would automatically register almost all young men between 18 and 25 into a pool of potential draftees. Now, right now, they're still required to register for the draft, could possibly legally face potential fines and imprisonment. Now, that hasn't been prosecuted since like the 70s, I don't think. But the draft has not been used since the Vietnam War in the 1970s. So what they're saying is we're going to take out all the paperwork and we're just going to put you into the pool of draftees and you don't even have to do anything about it. So you don't proactively go sign the thing. We just put you in it whether you like it or not.
So on the one hand, obviously, I don't think that I agree with you that no free nation should have a draft, and good luck drafting this generation to go fight the war if you want to lose quicker, maybe. But on the other hand, I do know that student loans, for example, or financial aid for school is tied to you registering. So having them automatically enroll in that just takes one less step if people need financial assistance.
A country that says its values and is based on freedom, there's no room for conscription in a country that says it's about freedom. None. Period.
Sir, no cap, sir.
That's whatever that means. Yes. All right. Okay. So we know about all the fraud in Minnesota by now. We've actually had smaller versions of that in the St. Louis area. There were some convictions for defrauding basically a child care program out of the Department of Education. Illinois, they're just getting started looking, but in California, man, this is going to be big. 8 people already arrested in California this week in connection to a hospice fraud network accusation. The Department of Justice says over $50 million was stolen in the course of the operation. $50 million is still less than what they found in Minnesota in fraud. However, but wait, there's more. What was happening is they say healthy people were being picked up. The suspects then billed Medicare for stuff that wasn't even treated. They just picked people up, drove them around, had them sign a paper, and then you know what? They billed Medicare for this. U.S. Attorney for the Central District of California, his name is Bill Asali, was on Fox Business's The Bottom Line.
We think it's going to be in the billions, if not over $100 billion.
That's just one state.
Doesn't it just make you want to pay your taxes? and the tragic part about this is only when it comes to the tax-funded fraud. There was a case in Missouri recently where somebody that was in HR in a company created fake employees to funnel to payroll and then was collecting the money. I mean, they got caught right away, but why is it with everybody just trying to defraud everybody now?
Go get a job, people. Work at something. And fraud is not your job. All right, another St. Louis festival is canceled. This time it is Cherokee Street's Cinco de Mayo celebration, completely called off for this year. KMOV's Kimberly Donahue has the story.
Festival organizers announced the cancellation Wednesday afternoon, less than a month before the event, citing rising costs and the festival's increasing scale.
We saw a noticeable shortfall in the funding that was coming through this year.
John Jern is the director of events for the Cherokee Street Neighborhood Improvement District, which helps put on the festival. He says organizers also thought about the 2 shootings at the festival in 2023 and community concerns about ICE, but neither were the main reasons for canceling.
Okay, so the Community Improvement District folks, KMOV asked him, okay, what about next year? They have not made a decision regarding whether or not they're going to want to bring this back. The businesses there are kind of crying uncle. They're like, hey, this brought in a lot of customers to this, but these things are expensive to put on. And a lot of times when they say funding, they're talking about grants, they're talking about sponsorships. Obviously, a CID is based on tax revenue for that particular district. So the details of where the money's not coming from, not clearly known, but I got to think that the violence in the city is got to have something to do with this too.
Yeah, when you have large crowds together like that, obviously that contributes more to that. But I would still argue if somebody's out there, they celebrate Cinco de Mayo or just want to get some relevant food and drinks, still show up just to give them a little bit of support for your business.
And where are the other parties? There are going to be other parties around the area. Somebody let me know. I may show up and grab some food and drink with you. All right. All right. Jordan Walker does it again. And the Cardinals pick up the series win in Washington. Final yesterday, 6-1 over the Nationals. Michael McGreevy getting his first win of the season. Jordan Walker hit a home run again. Woo! 3 games in a row. He has hit a home run in 3 games. He's got 5 on the season already. Alec Burleson drove in 4 runs. No game for the Redbirds today. It's a travel day. They're going to be back at home tomorrow playing the Red Sox at Busch Stadium. How about some indoor soccer? I haven't even mentioned it in a while. The Ambush are moving on to the MASL semifinals. There are only 4 teams left, and they're one of them. They finished their playoff series with Kansas City with a 2-1 win in the knockout game. So Kansas City and St. Louis split the 1-1, and then the way that the MASL works, if they're still tied after 2 games, they do a mini game, a knockout game, and that's what St. Louis won to move on. Game 1 of the next round is against San Diego. That's going to be at home at the Family Arena on Friday the 17th. And the Blues back in action at Enterprise. Tonight's game is with the Jets, and that starts at 7 o'clock. You can see that on FanDuel.
Oh, no, we don't want
Mike Ferguson in the morning on NewsTalk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Chance Koch with your first alert forecast. We're going to be tracking afternoon highs towards the lower 80s, mostly sunny skies, a warm day into Friday, some scattered showers throughout the day, off and on, a high of 71 degrees. Then a few storms scattered throughout the upcoming weekend. Still a decent amount of dry time temperatures, mid-70s Saturday, back towards the lower 80s into Sunday afternoon, and even warmer to start off early portions of next week. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Koch.
Fox News commentary with Brian Kilmeade next.
When I started skiing, I didn't think about setting any records. When I won my first race, I didn't think about how many more I might win. So when I made it to the top of the world, it never crossed my mind to stop. Being the best isn't the same as being your best. There are no shortcuts to the top, so find the people who help get you there. I'm Michaela Schifrin, and that's what Team Stiefel means to me. If you're an advisor or an investor, choose Stiefel, where success meets success.
Stiefel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Past performance is no indication of future results. Investing involves risk. Consult a financial advisor before making any investment decisions.
Here's Brian Kilmeade.
I don't think any parent's to blame for their kid's entire behavior. You got to do the best you can every moment you can. For example, if you're a latchkey kid in the 70s and 80s, you go home, you could watch television all day and you're bad for that. Or you could hang out with the wrong crowd. That was the danger. Now when you come home, if both parents work, you got to tell your kid who's 13, 14, 15, don't use your phone. Please, don't use your phone. I mean, you thought it was easy. Don't put on the TV, just do your homework. If software can do anything, AI can do anything. So why can't they make it impossible with a fingerprint? The only necessary in your house, the only one that can open up a certain amount of apps is the fingerprint of a parent. There are things that I'm not even thinking of that can be done. But there's a sentiment in this country that it's got to be done. You know, it's like walking the wrong way in traffic. Why would you let your kid do it? That's how dangerous social media is going to turn out to be in a few years.
For more commentary like this, go to foxnewspodcast.com.
Want a hands-free light that does not strap to your head or held in your mouth? Meet Dex Fingerlight at fingerlight.com. The Kryptonite ring fits any finger, pointing light exactly where you need it. Place decoys, handle gear, get close to roosted gobblers, fast, easy, stealthily. 3 light modes, waterproof, extremely durable. Developed by a father and son's Missouri team, Dex Fingerlight is faster and easier than a headlamp. Use discount code TONY20 for 20% off at fingerlight.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Patrick Toohey, he is senior fellow with the Show Me Institute.
You can say it's schools, you can say it's crime or the perception of crime. Those are legit, but, you know, St. Louis needs fewer reasons for people to leave, whatever they are. And even if the 1% tax isn't the top reason they leave, it's not keeping people in. And St. Louis needs to be competitive with the municipalities around them.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Tired of settling for generic fishing gear? Say hello to Bullseye Bait and Tackle, O'Fallon's one-stop shop for serious anglers. Live bait, premium tackle, rods, reels, and an unbeatable selection of lures from top brands like Megabass, Zoom, and Berkeley. Whether you're after bass, catfish, crappie, or bluegill, they've got the gear to help you land the big one. Plus, their expert team, led by Mark and Liz, provides rod and reel repair services. Bullseye Bait and Tackle, 266 Fort Zumwalt Square, or at bullseyebaitantackle.net.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Wherever I'm at, home, car, wherever.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Just the convenience on the phone.
Streaming live on the mobile app.
Love the new app.
And listen anytime.
Everywhere.
Anywhere.
Hey folks, Jamie Allman here, waiting for you for the 3 Martini Lunch, the Common Sense Radio, the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Now back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Another case of somebody hitting a interstate sign. This is crazy. Okay, this is near the Caseyville exit on the Illinois side, on the east side. Well, Caseyville, you know, St. Clair County, not Metro East. But basically, it looks like the westbound lanes of 64 are all shut down near the Caseyville exit. So right there by 255.
Ooh.
Yeah, so the traffic is basically being diverted around it. So you have to take the exit, and then you can go get back on the on-ramp. And so there's a massive buildup there. So something happened with a tractor trailer, with an 18-wheeler, and the overhead, like those highway signs, you know, that say 255, 50, you know, Chicago, Memphis exit, that got hit and it collapsed in the highway last night, about 11 o'clock last night. But they're just now getting it moved out of the highway because this is a massive, like the grid bridge sign that goes over the highway.
So did it hit one of the support beams, or did it hit the sign itself?
I'm just looking at the picture. It looks like it hit the sign itself, because if you look at the big sign, and let's see here, the picture cuts off exit 70 something that's there. Or 7 something. The one, if you're on 64, that will tell you either you exit here to go to Chicago or Memphis. So basically 255, 50. And it looks like the bottom left corner of that sign has been crushed through. So it looks like something hit that, but those are high enough that no normal tractor trailer should hit that. So I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, I've driven on the highways multiple times.
I drive it all the time. I play a bunch of baseball in that area.
Yeah. The clearance rate, there's a good couple feet.
Oh,
at least.
easy.
I mean, easily. So.
Nope. I found it. Channel 2 just put it up there. The tractor trailer failed to lower the dump bed in the construction zone, and then that's when it hit last night.
Isn't this the second time that's happened?
Yeah, there was one in Maryland Heights.
Are these like dump trucks revolting? Is this like a Transformers rise up? Or?
Here's what I understand is that's a whole tractor trailer. That's a bigger one. So I don't know. Kind of. I guess dump bed. So I guess it would tilt up. But yeah, this is the second. This is the second time. I don't mean to laugh. At least nobody got hurt in either case. But there was the one in I guess it was Maryland Heights that a guy hit. 2 or 3 sets of signs, and they were dealing with that the other day. So this one here has got a massive traffic backup. It's not stopped. You're still getting around it on the westbound lanes.
Congested.
Yeah, it's just really congested. If you're coming into town on 64 from the Illinois side, understand that you're probably adding 30 minutes to your drive, 20, 30 minutes to your drive, just because of that highway, that part of the highway being shut down.
And just thinking about the bed of a dump, I mean, it's pretty obvious when those things are up. It's not something where it would be at a slight tilt. You accidentally nick it because you didn't lower it all the way. That only happens when these are all the way in their upright position.
That's nuts. That's nuts.
Is this the same guy?
I don't know.
I want to have a word with this person.
Yeah, somebody has. We have thoughts for him. Oh, good God! All right, 8:38. We were getting. We had a really interesting guy. And this is why you should subscribe to the podcast, especially the Mike Ferguson Morning Podcast here at NewsTalkSTL.
Great podcast.
It is. If I do say so myself. Mary Catherine Martin from the Thomas More Society. Basically, when one of the schools in the area gets a little squirrely about trying to hide sexual stuff from kids. Thomas More Society is one of the go-to groups that are there for parental rights, and they really have an ongoing conflict with the Kirkwood School District because the Kirkwood School District has been caught many times, and not even just on sexual stuff. They were caught violating the court rulings and the orders regarding masks and all that kind of stuff years back. Kirkwood School District has just got this bizarre woke super left-wingy stuff, which most public schools do. But they've been caught, and they just keep fighting the fight. And so I got this note from Thomas More Society yesterday about tomorrow. And tomorrow apparently is this big national LGBT awareness protest day thing that's being pushed on public schools everywhere. And what is supposed to happen, according to the organizers, is they want all the school kids to basically shut up all day long. And it's like a day of silence to honor and show that you're an ally to the LGBTQ plus minus EIEIO community, whatever it is. And here's the thing is, and the Thomas More Society was pretty clear, listen, if a student wants to have make their say and, wear all black or not say anything, and they're free to do that. The problem here is that apparently the Kirkwood School District is promoting and coordinating and encouraging it from the school administrative perspective. So the school is essentially sponsoring and asking kids to be pro-LGBT activist on school property during school, and parents were not alerted to this. And so there's probably somebody right now listening or watching, and they are saying, wait a minute, is my school doing that? I don't know. They might. And if you're in the Kirkwood School District, you may be finding out for the first time that your school is doing this because the Thomas More Society now, of course, is contacting them going, hey, us again. We're the group that keeps kicking your butt in court. You want us to do it again? And it isn't a matter of they're allowing it to happen. It's they're the ones doing it. And so I would advise, personal advice, and my kids are no longer school age. I've already been through that stage. They're now adults out on their own. But if you've got a kid in a public school, K through 12, it might be worth a quick phone call to say, my understanding is there's a big activism day for LGBT stuff. Is the school doing something regarding that? Now, if they say, well, some student groups are doing something, hey, that's legal. That they can do that.
Yeah.
That's you don't really have a say. Just your kid participates or doesn't participate, and they can't be forced. If the school says, well, yes, we are doing whatever. We're allowing them to do that, or we're coordinating or whatever, then you've got the right to say, not my kid. They get to do something different, or you know what, I'm going to keep them home. And that is completely up to you. And if they get mad because you're keeping your kid home, screw them.
Yeah, unrelated to that, I might be in the area handing out megaphones.
There you go.
Because essentially what it sounds like is the school is encouraging peer pressure because
Yes.
if you and your friends are all doing this, and I mean, I've had a very diverse friend group, my entire life, some of which are way more into activism, some of which it's kind of like we tolerate it, we don't really care though. But if you're the only one in your friend group that's participating in class, you're going to immediately stand out and everybody's going to say, why aren't you participating in our activism? And I think that's horrible. You should never incentivize like a mob rule mentality with this kind of stuff.
Well, and especially when the mob's being led by the government.
Yes.
And every once in a while, I got to remind people, your school district is the government. It is a government entity. They actually have physical authority over your kids. Unfortunately, they've tried to take authority over parents and make you answer to the school districts. The school districts answer to you. And we need to change that dynamic, but it might be worth it to go check to see. Now, they could be aware of, some student groups are going to do something. Hey, that's legal. That's First Amendment stuff. We don't have a right to shut that down, and we shouldn't.
Yeah, if the students came together and said, we want to do this,
Right.
and the school said, fine, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine.
That's
Yeah.
a little bit different.
That's different.
Yeah, and again, to your point, the fact that it is a government entity with this, that's disrupting essentially the educational environment. Why are you sending your kids to school? Why are you not able to take your kids out of school and educate them yourself to make sure that they're learning something useful in life and not participating in these shenanigans?
But that's the point, though. That's the point, is that you say it's disrupting the learning environment to the far left, which has captured the public school system. This is their learning. This is what they're more worried about teaching kids than basic geography or math or anything like that. This is how so many fringe left activists look at public education as the way to mold the next generation into the next generation of Marxists.
Well, and I feel like in a lot of cases, though, it's starting to backfire. I mean, growing up around this, there's so many people that they would not have a strong opinion for or against it. I mean, especially against it, though.
Yeah.
It would just kind of be like, okay, some people are gay.
You
some
do
people
your thing, whatever.
Yeah, well, it's cool, just whatever. We can learn to coexist. And now because it's become so prevalent and so backed and enforced within different institutions, now I've seen actual backlash of people that they're like, I don't actually hate gay people, but I will adamantly oppose any of this activist nonsense.
I actually know some gay people who are sick of gay people on stuff like this.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, but people would be surprised. I'm the heavy metal conservative hawk talk shows or whatever it is that I'm branded in St. Louis. My friend group is quite bigger and more diverse than you would probably think. And I've got some friends who are gay. They are on the left. They're like, yeah, you guys are right. This is stupid. I'm not going to say that out loud, but this is beyond stupid. But the bigger thing to me isn't about the LGBT stuff. The bigger thing to me is about the parents aren't being told about it.
Yes.
And the point of not telling the parents is so your kids are basically pressured once they get there. And the whole point is trying to rear and indoctrinate the kid. Parents, you've got a right to say, not my kid. I'll handle that sort of conversation with my kid, and we'll come to our own conclusion. This just isn't what the public schools should be doing.
Yeah, if you're a parent of one of these children that's schools participating in that nonsense, maybe you'd be better off just bringing them instead on Tuesday, June 2nd, to the Hammond Center for Free Enterprise and the St. Charles County Republican Central Committee, where they will be hosting a live debate at Linwood University at the J. Scheidegger Center.
Yep.
I had it.
Okay.
I had it, Mike. Come on.
You just paused and looked scared for a second.
At the J. Scheidegger Center for the Arts, St. Charles County executives candidates Jason Law, Bill Eigel, and incumbent Steve Eldman will take on questions from a panel well-versed in St. Charles County issues. All live on News Talk STL. The doors open at 6 p.m. The program starts at 6:30. The debate begins live on News Talk STL at 7 p.m. And it's sponsored by Mid-Rivers News Magazine. So for all the information, you can go to newstalkstl.com. And if you're not going to be by your radio, of course, we have the free News Talk STL app that you can listen to live wherever you are.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Can you tell me what is queering the map?
So I think we were trying to make the maps more gay.
Literally?
How
do you make a map more gay?
I mean,
on News Talk STL.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros and Exteriors, your all-in-one service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. Christine and I discovered Gutter Pros and Exteriors when we bought our home and inherited a gutter problem. And they've also repaired siding damage on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, The Gutter Pros team are also the best for repairing other exterior damage, including fascia, soffit, and all siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros and Exteriors can help your home or business right now at gutterpros.com.
When your commercial or industrial facility needs repairs, who do you trust? Commercial Facilities Maintenance gets the job done right, every time. From plumbing and electrical to asphalt, concrete, and fencing, we handle it all. Occupied job sites? No problem. Multi-phase projects? We've got you covered. We offer seamless communication, quality handiwork, and a cost-free estimate within 1 to 2 business days. Building trust with quality work. Visit CommercialFacilitiesMaintenance.com. That's CommercialFacilitiesMaintenance.com.
This year, America turns 250, and Newstalk STL is celebrating our nation's semi-quincentennial all year long. Newstalk STL, #1 for live and local Soros-free talk, with proud supporters of our 250th birthday celebration. Roman T. Jewelers, Luxury Driver STL, Harry J. Steakhouse, and Snooze Mattress. 250 years strong, and we're just getting started. 101.9 and 94.1 Newstalk STL.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
Hi, it's Ken. Tomorrow we're going to get the latest on the conflict with Iran, and we'll check in with Tony Kinnett from the Daily Signal. Join us tomorrow at 11:05. Vic and I will see you then.
Weekday mornings at 9
on Newstalk STL.
Hi, it's Vic Porcelli.
And Ken.
Hi, Ken.
Hey, Vic.
Ken and I are on every Monday through Friday here on News Talk STL. Right now, you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Whoosh, my morning people.
All right, the UFL, they just started their season. They're just 2 weeks into the season, going into week 3 here, but they just made an announcement about next season. Looks like we're going to have a new opponent. They are expanding the league next year. So just got this emailed to me a little bit ago. The United Football League has officially announced plans to expand to Oklahoma City. New team is set to begin play in 2028. So not next season, I guess, the season after that. And so they talked about the venue that's being built right now in downtown Oklahoma City. Of course, Oklahoma, man, that's a football state. You know, between the Cowboys and the Sooners, man, there's a lot of football fans out there.
So there'll be more teams for the Battlehawks to annihilate.
Yes, precisely. Now, here's the thing that's interesting, though, is that in Oklahoma City, I don't know how big this stadium is that's being built right now. It looks like it's a multi-purpose thing, which means they're probably looking for a soccer team and they're looking for something else too as well. But my guess is they will draw crowds. Mm-hmm. You know, they will probably be number 2 to St. Louis as far as bringing crowds in, because the rest of the UFL is still fairly pathetic. I think there was one game in the first week that hit over 10,000. I don't remember where that was, but nobody's coming close to St. Louis here. Matter of fact, St. Louis going to be back at home this week against Birmingham. Birmingham been a little bit of a thorn in the side to us over the last few years, so hopefully we're in good shape for that game. But that's going to be at the Dome. It's an early Sunday afternoon game. I think it's like 2:00 or something like that. But go to the UFL or just I've got the Battlehawks app, so you can find that as well. But all right, so the UFL doing well enough. They're now talking about expansion, and that's a good market for them to be in.
Yeah, it's a very good sign to give some alternatives. I think a lot of people love football still.
Right.
But the NFL has not treated about half the fan base very well, if not more.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, and I relate to that too. Is I haven't watched the NFL in years. I mean, I was a diehard Pittsburgh Steelers fan for like my entire life. Up until I just got so sick of the NFL being so stupid. And remember, a lot of that started in St. Louis. And, you know, the whole hands up, don't shoot thing by the then St. Louis Rams, that started a lot of that crap. Mm-hmm. You know, and then the NFL decided to take sides in the culture war and the kneeling and the, all that kind of stuff. And then they just got worse and worse and worse and dumber and dumber and dumber. And the NBA's kind of done the same thing. And and so it's kind of refreshing with UFL. And I don't know where the UFL ownership or their teams or anything stand on any of those things, but that's the point. I don't know. I'm not supposed to. Just play football.
Yeah,
just give me a game to watch.
Off the court or off the field, you can do and say and believe whatever you want to believe, but when you're out there, it's like, I want to root for you because you're making us look good as a community, not because you have the right political activist stuff.
Yeah,
And,
I just let sports be sports.
and then my uncle's still very much he's a big Kansas City Chiefs fan.
A lot of people are,
and I have my own issues, so I try not to. But I'll watch it with him occasionally, and it just seems like every NFL team now they're dancing and they're trotting around every time something. It doesn't even matter if you score a touchdown. When I was growing up, it was you scored a touchdown or you made a sack on the field, and you were like, you were showing off. It's like the ball moves a few feet, and then all of a sudden you guys are doing a little jig in the in the field. It's like, what are you guys doing? I want to watch a football, not your little dance party.
Yeah, and I remember back in the the 70s and 80s, the NFL, you scored a touchdown, spike the ball, and that was like a big deal. And then of course it had to become bigger and bigger and bigger, and your signature move, almost like you're in the pro wrestling or something like that. And then it was like for anything, I made a tackle, I'm going to do a move or something. I mean, I really just play football.
You don't have to get like a first down even. The ball moves a little bit, and it looks like you've been practicing with the cheerleaders on what you're going to like. I can't remember what the team was, but it seemed like for everything that they had a pre-coordinated little thing that they're going to do together. And I'm like, what? So you're eating up half the time on the field just prancing around.
And baseball kind of is like that too a little bit with all the bat flips and the hand signs every time somebody gets hit. And some of the Cardinals do this too. And they did this, like they'll get a hit and they'll be on second base and then they're doing like a hand like gesture. They're all doing. I'm like, you got to double, dude. I'm like, listen, it's impressive. I love hitting doubles, in those rare times but it's like you're supposed to. That's what's with all that.
Yeah, you hit a grand slam, and I will cheer you on while you do cartwheels from base to base. But when I was doing football, I mean, we were taught when you're in the end zone, you act like you've been there before.
That's it. See,
you act like this is not your first time doing something good. You show up, and that's the intimidation factor, is that these guys are so good that they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
It does not. This is so routine to them that it doesn't matter, and that actually works psychologically.
Even in an old man baseball, we're really we try. I mean, we go out of our way to try to avoid as many injuries as possible. So. Even stuff in the old school baseball rules, but I was playing in the adult leagues when the old school rules were still applying. You pimped out a home run, you did some of that stuff. Guess what happened the next time you came up to bat? You got a fastball right to your thigh.
You got beamed.
We wouldn't throw, into the ribs, or we wouldn't throw it at your head, but you would get one. You're going home with a bruise. And that was just kind of, hey, that's the way it is, because that's how baseball was, and that's how sports were, is you didn't show up the other team, and you showed respect for the game. Now nobody really wants to do that sort of thing. Although, did you see there was a big fight? Wilson Contreras, who used to play for the Cardinals, now he plays for the Red Sox. He was they had a big brawl the other day, because Wilson Contreras, even when he was with the Cardinals, didn't get along with the Milwaukee Brewers. Part of that, I'm sure, was the rivalry. He was with the Cubs, and he was with the Cardinals, and Brewers have been a rival. He's been hit by the Brewers pitchers over the course of his career over 20 times. More than like any other player's been hit by any single team in baseball history. And he got hit again, and there was a lot of jawing and all that sort of thing. And then a brawl broke out, and like the pitcher for Milwaukee actually hit a guy while still holding the baseball. Hit him in the face.
Wow.
And so there was like it was nuts, because we don't get that many brawls anymore. But that was like for real, because a lot of times baseball players will brawl, but all they're really doing is just like slow dancing fast out in front of the cameras. They don't really do it. But that was a real deal.
See, I'm a little bit spoiled, because hockey, fist fighting your opponent is a valid.
That's part of the game.
That's an actual strategical thing. They will get players on that are obviously still good at hockey, but for their specific purpose of taking out the better players in the opposing team, which I think is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just something about seeing a baseball brawl that's much different than I think any other sport. I mean, you see, basketball players shoving each other, you see football players, but when it's baseball, that they are furious.
Oh yeah, and when it really happens, there were some crazy ones. I mean, it's either the dance or it's the real thing. I've seen both.
When those benches clear, though.
Oh yeah, and see, here's the thing is though, there's these old school rules. The unwritten rules, or what we used to call the code. And that was, if somebody gets into it, you are obligated to run out there to support your teammate, even if you think he's wrong and he started it. If one goes, everybody has to go. Otherwise, you're answering to your team. Why weren't you there for your team? Everybody has to come off. That's why you see the guys jumping out of the bullpen and running in. Everybody has to go. That's part of the unwritten rule in baseball, is even if your guy was an idiot and he did it, everybody goes on the field. That's why there are no partial bench clearing. Everybody goes. That's part of how it works.
Well, I did not know that was an unwritten
No,
understanding.
that's been around for over 100 years.
'Cause I was taught the opposite. Again, going back to football,
Yeah.
is that if it's clear that your teammate's getting ganged up on, go back him up.
Sure,
but if it's your teammate's being a knucklehead and wants to start something, well, don't start something you can't finish.
Yeah,
That's sort of our understanding.
And the way it is in baseball, and my teams will still do this. Every once in a while, somebody will get too hot-headed, and you deal with it in private with the team only, but on the field, it doesn't matter, man. You're out there.
You better at least be in the vicinity.
Okay, so here's like one story I'll admit to. Years ago, and it was one of my first years in the St. Louis leagues, we had a situation where the benches cleared in old man baseball, like 43 and over. I think it was 45 and over at that time. And one guy got hit with a ball, and my pitcher said something he shouldn't have said. And then he said something back, and my pitcher didn't even mean to hit him, but he flapped his jaws. And then so they barked at each other. Then their manager started yelling, and the benches cleared, and nothing was a fight. I mean, it's old man baseball. Come on. But one of my friends I met in the league, we agreed that night, if we're ever on opposite sides and there's a bench clearing brawl, we're going to find each other and just like grab each other's jersey and just kind of rattle around a little bit just to make sure we get credit for being there without actually being in the middle of it. So, Bob, I'm still on there, man. If it ever happens,